like I'll ask them, what are your core values? What are your core values in the program? And they're looking at me like they don't know them. Whether it's a business or whether it's a team, at any level, high school, college, pro, you got to have an identity and you got to have core values. And your decisions ultimately have to be made off of your core values, and your culture has to be kind of embedded based off of whatever those core values are. And so if you ask a player on your team, what are our core values, and that player kind of looks at you like you have three heads, you haven't done a good enough job kind of promoting and discussing and advocating for those core values.
What are the core values, and do they change year to year?
I hate soccer.
Have you played Clarence?
We haven't. Clarence that'll be a challenge. I mean, that's the gold standard of high school soccer right now in Western New York. And
why?
It's not only that they have the talent, because we know they have the talent. A lot of it has to do with the families and their commitment to the club scene. I mean, when you talk about club soccer commitment by families, I mean, Clarence obviously leads the way.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good and bad high school coaches out there. And Clarence has good coaches as well, you know. So
historically,
they don't.
I've been
yeah. I mean, and Mike Silverstein led the boys for a long time, and now he's with the girls. Chris Durr jumped over to the girls. So on the girls' side, they have two great coaches. On the boys' side, you know, you look at Gates and what he has been able to do with that program, and which has been great to begin with. And I think they've even taken another step. And so you got the buy-in from the families. 12 months of the year. You have a coach that's very committed to the team, and he runs the culture the right way. And on both sides, the boys and the girls, and you put both of those two things together, and you know, they have a competitive advantage to begin with, but then it gets compounded by good coaching and good people, and because of that, they are, both sides, boys and girls, the gold standard. And I mean, obviously it helps with the amount of talent they have going out to their tryouts. I mean, you look at some of our high school programs now are just begging volleyball players and football players that might not be starting on the football team, hey, come play soccer, and they're putting their sales cap on to just get enough numbers to be able to have a JV team and a varsity team. They don't have to do that at Clarence. Their challenges are having that third day when you got to, you know, send 15 to 20 kids home. You know, which is a challenge in itself. That's a different challenge, though, because you do it once and that's it for the year, whereas a lot of these programs, they have challenges throughout the year, and A, getting enough kids to play, and then B, hopefully everybody's healthy throughout the duration of the season to complete 75 days crammed in 16, 18 games. You know, and then ultimately to prepare to play teams like Clarence when you're not Clarence, which is,
right,
you know, that'll keep you up at night, especially if you're competitive, which most of our coaches are in the area. So, yeah, they just do it right. They're just complete in terms of player development, coaching, culture, admin support, family support, you know, the whole 9 yards.
Does it being one club or one school help? Versus Williamsville is like...
It's three schools.
Three schools,
but obviously if Williamsville was all combined, it'd be a lot larger of a school than Clarence, right? So just Clarence,
What's the closest school that's closest in size to Clarence? Is it north or is it east?
North. North's the biggest Williamsville school. So It's north, and then east, and then south, and it's about 200 students. The beds are about 200 different, and we'll get into that because I heard you were talking with Carissima about beds and how that all works.
Yeah.
And, so south is, 200 less than us, and north is probably 200 more than us, and we're kind of in the middle at east.
Right. But you're in like South's bracket when it comes to state tournament, right?
So yeah, there's the state implemented a AAA 3 years ago now. And the reason why they did that is because there was only AA was the biggest size in New York State. The problem is that a Clarence was a AA, let's say, and they would go to the state Final Four, let's say, and they would play a team from New York or Long Island that had double the size of students to pick from.
Right.
So the state said, you know what, the competitive advantage isn't fair for some of these upstate schools when they go play, or Fairport from Rochester or whatever. So they implemented the AAA. And now it's AAA, AA, A.
And AAA is like the biggest
Of the bigs, right?
Okay.
And then AA, A, B, C, and it ends at D. D obviously would be like your Ellicottville High School, your smallest of the smalls. And that is for playoffs and state qualifications and things of that nature. Then there's the league side. And this is where you and Charisma, I know we're talking about kind of, I guess sometimes it gets a little confusing, right?
Yeah.
So Erie County Interscholastic Conference is what ECIC means, right?
Okay.
So it's ECIC 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's based on school sizes. They call it beds. The beds are the number of students from freshman year to junior year. So they don't account for senior year because they make the beds the year before. So like we'll know in November next year's beds already, right? So I knew in November we were getting moved up to AA for the first time in program history, and we were getting moved up to ECIC 1 for the first time in program history. I knew that in November once they released the beds, and we were bigger than Star Point, who then moved down to A. They were AA last year.
Is ECIC dictated on beds too?
Yes.
Or is that...
Yep. So like it's not like a relegation, promotion, thing of that nature. It's not like the top teams are in ECIC 1, then 2. Notoriously, the bigger the school, the better the level,
So
right?
is it like that in like the NFL too? The Niagara...
Yeah, so the NFL is just one league because there's only 9 teams in that league. So it's not
So
like
you could
NFL
have-
1, NFL 2, NFL 3. It's just NFL because there's 9 schools.
So
but
you could have a AAA playing a single A all
in the
NFL.
Yeah, and that happens. Like, but it's Niagara. Like Niagara Falls is a AAA, but they're not a notorious soccer school. They're playing Grand Island, who's an A.
Football probably hurts.
Football, probably basketball, right?
Basketball, yeah.
But ECIC has 27 schools. So there's 4 leagues, and it's based off beds. So, like, we are the smallest school in ECIC 1 this year. We were the biggest school in ECIC 2 last year. We were just on that line. But then, like, your Springvilles, your Hollands, your Edens, they're in ECIC 3. They're in the lowest league just based on school size, not on talent or anything like that. So
your conference, the county conference, throughout the season,
girls and boys,
is only dictated on class size. It's not like
on size.
You can win it, and then you don't move up, you don't move down.
No, correct. It's just based on size.
Okay.
And then, obviously, based on how you do, that's what you get. You're seeded for playoffs in your respective class, which league and class are 2 different things. Example, Lancaster's in our league, ECIC 1, but they're a AAA school. So in playoffs, we won't play them, right? Williamsville South is an A school, right? So they're in ECIC 2. They'll play all the other A schools. NFL has A schools, so they'll play each other in playoffs, but they won't play each other in the regular season unless it's a non-league game.
Gotcha.
So you could still play these other schools, but they're just non-league games, which we get 4 non-league games a year to pick from. Some schools get 5, some schools get 4, depending upon how many league games they play. So that's how that kind of works.
Going back to talking about Clarence.
Yeah.
And the thing with high school soccer is that it's dictated largely on the community club. And Charisma kind of like, we'll talk about South, and it's like Amherst used to be that for them, but it's kind of like trailing, or it's not as strong as it used to be. Do you see that at East, or is it just completely just because of where South is located versus where East is located? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a byproduct of leadership, right? And the top clubs, have great leadership, and it kind of trickles into the high school program. So, for example, we were playing Grand Island, the section championship last year, and my sister-in-law has kids, and they live in the Grand Island School District, and they have young kids, under the age of 10, 4 boys under the age of 10. She's getting text messages the morning of the section championship from the club director and email say, "Hey, we got a section championship game in West Seneca. Come on out, wear blue, bring everybody out." We're not seeing that in some of the other clubs locally, like Amherst, for example. I would imagine Clarence is probably doing the same thing. I know Andy Gates was trying to get a bunch of Clarence players out there this morning. They were doing some program.
They have a club night at some of their high school games.
Right. And you know what? Amherst is fine, right? They're fine, but they're maybe not where some of these other programs are at the club level. But we can't make excuses. I mean, at the end of the day, we are still Williamsville, and we have plenty of great student athletes and families to pick from, and great kids that are committed and want to play and enjoy the game. But when you have that buy-in from the club level, it does give you that competitive advantage, because at the end of the day, as high school coaches, we supplement the training from November to early August. But the leader of the training is what they do on the club side, right? So we can set up our, full season program, and we'll get to that and implement things along the way. But at the end of the day, November to early August, it's club soccer, right? And we would love to have the local clubs buy in the way that some of these other local clubs are. I use Grand Island as an example, but you can use Clarence and Lancaster is built a strong club level as well. But we can only control so much, And so the ownership is on us still to implement that full year-round program if we want to be successful, and not lean on the clubs to get it done for us, right? Because that's, in a way, for me, the lazy approach is, all right, I'm going to count on Amherst Soccer to develop my players. I got to develop my own players. That's my responsibility. I signed up for this. I am their coach 365 days a year, not 75 days out of the year. And if we have success, it's going to be because of the buy-in that I've sold my players on throughout the year. And we have. I mean, we started off 6-0 for the 6th straight year this year.
Good.
So, that is a byproduct of what we do in the off season. We start the year with a competitive advantage based on what we've done from, in a way, January 1st up until that kickoff of that first game, which this year was August 26th. And we train hard from January 1st on to prepare for that first game. And, that is our culture. That's what we're about. So yes, we'd love a little bit more support, as I'm sure most coaches would, from their own clubs throughout the area. But at the end of the day, that's on us. That's what we signed up for.
How often are you getting together with these guys in January? Or from January on to, let's say, summer?
I would say every third quarter of the year we're doing different things. So we start off with sports performance. We do that twice a week, starting in January. And then starting in March and April, along with sports performance, we do indoor training. This year we did at PlayMaker, which was great.
Who do you do your sports performance through?
AP Sports, Frank Barafato, Tom Cadero at the Eastern Hills Mall over there. I think you were used to be over there.
That's where I used to be.
Yeah. So those guys are great, and they've taken on, in a way, they're our sports performance coaches, right, all year round. So if a player I'm not a sports performance coach. I'm a high school soccer coach, right? Yeah. So if a student athlete has questions regarding that, how they can improve, they have Tom's number. They reach out to Tom. They reach out to Frank. Frank and Tom assist me in that process. That's part of being a CEO of your own program. Is it takes a village, right? And that they help with that. And then in the March and April, we do indoor training at Salen's. We came here this year. May hits, we do our spring camp at the school. It's almost like an intramural soccer. It's after school. They come out, we compete, we play small-sided games. It's nothing too intense.
Right.
Captain's practices in June. Varsity camp starts in July and goes till the first official day, right?
Do you run
I run that. That good. For me, that's the most important part of the year. I direct and delegate the rest, and then I run that, because that's the 6 weeks leading up to the first official day. And although I know the players tactically, maybe I don't know exactly their strengths and weaknesses, because you're turning over players every year,
right?
To graduation and whatnot. But for me, that's the most important part of what we do, is that varsity camp, that 5 weeks leading up to that opening day. And that sets us up for success.
Are there any state rules about how often you can work with them outside of the season? Because Michigan used to have, it was 15 dates. They could only work with them 15
almost like college
dates
soccer
out.
in spring.
It's dumb. It's dumb, and I hated it. They also had a rule where, let's say you coached at Amherst Soccer Club, and if you coached middle school and older age group at club, you couldn't have, if you had 4 players on your team, that also went to your high school, you couldn't coach that high school team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you know that there's some private schools around here that have club coaches that train maybe 10 of the girls.
yeah.
And if you're a director of that club, every kid in the club from 13 and up counts towards you not being able to coach high school soccer. And then I get here, like,
Which I don't agree with, but
I don't necessarily do either. And then I get here 10 years ago, and there was no rules. And it's like, whoa, this is a wild, wild west.
Yeah.
You could, if you really wanted to, you could train your players every single week throughout the year as a high school coach.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they say you can't have the first official practices this year was August 18th, right? But you can run camps, and the camps essentially are what they are. You're basically running practices during the camps.
And you could do winter futsal too, right?
Yeah.
And stuff like that?
All of that. So, and a lot of coaches credit to Will South during their peak maybe 3-4 years ago. They had, and we can get to some of those players, but they were really good.
Yep.
And Trevor had coached them. Their coach Trevor had coached them for club at Amherst Soccer and kind of came up with them and a lot of those players. So he was coaching them basically
that
year
Amherst
round.
Team was really
They
good.
were really good. I think they won states that year for club, and that was Lancaster does it right now with their coaches a lot of their players at Flash on the RL side there. So it's a big part of that. But for me, it's you can only coach so much, and so I'm coaching. If I'm investing my time, it's all into my players at the high school level and what we're doing there, and that's kind of for now. That's how it's going to be.
You talk about like building a program. How hands-on are you with like the JV, but then also modified and getting into the middle schools, making sure that more kids are playing?
Yeah, that's why we coach high school soccer. When we talk about coaching high school soccer, you talk about being the CEO of a program and not just coaching a team, right? There's two different things. In a way, you're running your program like you would run a business. And what I love about coaching high school soccer versus club, which I did for many, many years, is that you can meet a 12 or 13-year-old as seventh graders when they're first starting out with modified and mold them and develop them from boys to young men over a 6-year window. You don't get that opportunity at the club level. Maybe you coach a group for 2 years or a year, and then the coaching director comes in and says, all right, now you're going to coach this group, or now you're going to coach that group. We get to meet these boys at 7th grade and develop them into young men over a 6-year period. Not just players, right, but people. And that is, for me, educational athletics, which is what high school soccer is all about, is basically the foundation of getting them at a young age and being able to work with them. And so you got to know their names. You got to know their positions. We got to know where they're playing club so you can follow up with them when you see them this winter, which we will. Hey, how's Amherst? How's Clarence soccer going?
Right.
What's new? Have you worked on that left foot a little bit more?
Yeah.
And then you're seeing them evolve over that 6-year window. And at times we're taking we've had one 8th grader on our team for 4 straight years, including this year. So at times we're taking a middle school player and putting them on varsity. And how we kind of get notified is A, we see, but B, we're getting the communication from the modified coach. They have their depth charts. They have their ratings on every player.
Right.
I'm getting that. I'm reviewing that. I'm looking at where our needs are at the varsity level heading into the following year. And then I'm seeing if that player is ready to take that next step.
Yeah.
And so, getting in the with the younger players is a big byproduct of our success as well. As for all high school coaches, not just soccer coaches.
There's a legendary athletic director and basketball coach in Michigan. It was Clarkston, Michigan, and it was like Dane Fife. Dugan Fife. Both of his sons played Big Ten basketball. One played at Michigan, one played at Indiana. One ended up coaching at Michigan State under Tom Izzo. But the reason why Clarkston, and this is a public school, the reason why Clarkson was so good was that he got into the elementary schools.
Yeah.
He got into the elementary schools, and let's call it like 4 elementary schools, and he started a league amongst like the elementary schools, and he had like at one point I think he had 1,000 kids in his program.
Yeah.
But they ended up coming from out of it. It turned into like club soccer, but he oversaw and knew these kids from the time that they were in first grade all the way up. And I've like gotten onto Charisma. I'm like, Charisma, you should do this because I know like we'll get into club versus high school, but like she doesn't have any interest of going into club coaching. Yeah. So I'm like, then do this. Then like build something where you're building that and program and because not everybody, especially like at South for some reason, not everybody plays outside of school soccer. Yeah. But it's kind of like what Clarence does. Yeah. But they allow the club to do it because the club is just so big and so strong. Right. And it just feeds. Well,
I think that's the key is to your point is we only have so many resources, right? As high school coaches, you're making, $6,000 a year. So it's not like you're a college coach where this is your full-time job where you can get in and do this and that. The big thing that I always recommend with high school coaches is get a good team of staff around you. And if they're the modified coach or they're the JV coach, you have to be more than just the modified coach and the JV coach. So what I ask of my modified and JV coaches, what else can you do? Right. Rather than just showing up, let's say, in mid-August and you're done, and really for those two mid-October, 2 months, can you run the spring program? Yeah. Can you run the winter program? Can you do one thing other than just the season? Or else we're going to just find another coach that can. Right. And I've been blessed with a great group of coaches that have helped along the way and have, I could do the spring camp too. So now when that coach is running the spring camp in May, I'm already building our summer training program and our summer camp stuff for June. Yeah. I'm already looking 1 quarter ahead after I get that other quarter already taken care of and delegated out to one of the other coaches. So it's a team, right? It's not just one person. A lot of coaches don't have those resources, or they don't have that buy-in maybe from a modified coach or a JV coach or whatever it might be. They got to do everything on their own. And it makes it really problematic, in the end.
I've worked with coaches that didn't want any help from their staff.
Oh, no.
That, like, if you said something from the sidelines as an assistant coach, a guy, like, barked at. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm leaving. I'm never coaching with this guy again. Yeah, right. And that literally happened to me when I was young. I was like 19. Right. I was like 19, went back to coach for a coach that actually coached me. And this is the exact situation. Ball is going out of bounds, but it kind of like stops. And the kid could have like got there, and then the ball. He thought the ball went out of bounds, and the ref didn't call it. And all I said was, "Play to the whistle." And then I get yelled at. Nobody talks to my team except me. And I'm like,
"Oh my god."
I'm like,
you were the assistant coach.
You're 19 years old. I just started coaching. Oh my god. He later apologized to me, but I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, this is to serve the kids, right? So you want to put the best people on your team as possible. When I say people on your team, I mean people on your staff, and surround yourself with the best. And I had Mark Howlett coaching our club team with me. He was my assistant coach when I was coaching with Empire Buffalo, and we had the best 16-year-olds in Buffalo at the time, and you could tell they really respected Mark and his voice. And Mark is still this day a fantastic coach. And I remember the biggest game of the year. We're in the state. We're at Cortland in the state round robin. You got to, there's if you play four teams, you got to really win all 3 to win states and advance to regionals. And I kind of had him in my back pocket all year, but I said, Mark, you're giving these guys this pregame speech, and you save your best for that game. We were playing Blackwatch under Doug Miller at the time, who was a legend out there, and he had the best players in Rochester. We had the best players. We knew from November on we were going to be playing these guys in May to get to the regionals, and Mark just delivers the best speech I could remember, and we go out there, we beat them 2-0, and that for me that was it. Like, Mark is a great coach. He's a better coach than I am. I'm going to utilize him when needed to make sure we maximize and get the most out of our team. Because at the end of the day, it's not about pride or ego. It's about ultimately, us being successful as a team, and it's about the kids first, right?
Right.
And, having people around you that can set your team up for success and at times challenge you, right? And kind of look at it from a different microscope than maybe what you're looking at it, is ultimately what it's all about. And so, I've been blessed to have good coaches around me for a long, long time.
When did you coach at Empire?
Well, I started in the DA with Benny Cross, Rory,
Paul
Ben Valenti. Oh, yeah, Ben's the best coach I've ever coached with.
Because Daniel Steinecker plays for him.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to Ben so bad. I'm supposed to get Rory on.
Yeah, Rory's great too. He's a great teacher. Ben is the most solid coach that I've ever seen, and quite frankly, I'm a little surprised at how they're doing this year, if I'm being honest. Because when I heard Ben coached on a Columbus Crew MLS championship winning team. I think it was in 2020, maybe 2021.
Yep.
He was the lead assistant with them, and he's been around the league for a while. And then he came back home, and that's kind of his dream college job was U of R because family ties and things of that nature out there. And I called Dan right away. I'm like, Dan, wait till you see Ben, this guy, because at the time, Dan didn't know him. Dan, I think, got recruited by a different coach.
Okay.
As he was going in for his freshman year, that's when Ben took over, and I think it was Jeff Apple recruited him, and then Jeff stepped down.
Yep.
And Ben took over, and Ben and Jeff have a great relationship. I'm sure Jeff had a hand in getting, holding that position until Ben was willing and able to take it. But when you look at these coaches, so I coached in the DA for 2 years under Paul and Ben. I was their assistant coach, and just a sponge. Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's 12, 13 years ago. The honor and the pleasure to be able to coach with those guys 3-4 days a week with the best players in New York West, basically, from Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo. And then I would run the Buffalo sessions. So we do 2 Buffalo sessions a week, or one or 2 Buffalo sessions a week, and then we do the team sessions in Rochester, just for logistically for our players and things of that nature.
Kids going out there,
an
hour and a half in a car,
every 4 days a week. So we do local, and then we do the team, and ultimately that's all about putting yourself around great coaches. And Rory was great too. Rory came in later, and he was already had a great relationship with Ben and PV, and they really trusted him, and Rory ran with it. And now I believe Rory's the highest coach up right now for
He's
for RNY.
The show,
and deservingly so. He's a good coach.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting because you have that perspective of, no high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, then Dan was actually a Will East kid.
Yes,
right?
he was.
So he didn't play high school. I sat with him at Tim Hortons when he was a 7th grade. That's another good example of what you and I were just talking about. Dan was in 7th or 8th grade. Maybe he was in 8th grade. And I had just taken over at East. And I heard rumblings that
You've been the East coach for that long?
Yeah, 7th. It's my 7th year.
Really?
He was my first meeting. And I heard rumblings this guy might go to the DA, and so I met with his family. It feels like yesterday at Tim Hortons next to the transit lanes over there. We had a cup of coffee, and I sold him on who I am and what I want to bring to the program, and this and that. I just came from the DA, and DA's great, but we're great, and you can do this and that. And I got an email 2 weeks later from his mom, Robin, who's great. She said, he's going to the DA. And I never saw him. I saw him since because his brother Gavin was our captain last year. Different type of player than Dan, but Gavin was great for us.
Such a good kid too.
Dan, I still give him a hard time every time I see him for not playing with us. Because Luca was his classmate.
Yep.
And he's playing at Niagara and doing well, and Dan is playing at U of R and doing well. So there's so many different ways to approach it. But, I lost that battle.
Yeah.
I lost that battle.
I mean, do you have any MLS Next kids right now?
Yeah, we lost one 6 days before the season, which I wasn't thrilled about.
Yeah, you lost Grayson.
Yeah, so
because he was the 8th grader last year.
He was the 8th grader last year. And again, we put 8th graders on the team specifically, maybe not for that specific year, but knowing that a year later, these kids, experience. You know this better than anybody. When they are committed as like not just Grayson, but families like Grayson's family are to the game, 1 year of soccer makes the world of a difference. So jump that some players make that are playing 4 or 5 times a week is different than that junior to senior that might play on the local travel team once a week, right? So we put someone like Grayson on the team as an 8th grader, knowing how committed he is by that jump from 8th to 9th grade year. He's a top 6 player on our team, which he was going to be, obviously, this year. So that was a tough loss, and I mean, that happens, a lot.
That happened like overnight.
That happened
too.
overnight.
Like they're like, we might be talking, and then the next time I saw them, which is very shortly after, they're like, can Grayson get in? We are leaving.
Yeah,
we're going to Shattuck's, and then one of Daniel's teammates ended up leaving MLS or leaving RNY. And going to Shattuck's as well.
Okay.
So
and
just hearing about that environment is crazy.
Yeah.
Because
that is a big commitment.
We could get into RNY and I want to talk to Rory about this. Is about just the college placement of everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where RNY, they do as best a job they can to get guys into college.
Yeah.
But the college landscape is nuts.
Yeah.
But the guys at Shattuck, the year before Ben Schmidt went to Shattuck's, their 19s had like 3 guys go to Clemson, 2 guys go to Washington, another go to Georgetown. I'm like, Ben, how the hell are these kids all going to these places? And it's like the network that those coaches have is just insane.
Yeah.
So I like starting to, okay.
I don't want to not. I mean, like, you talk about. RNY it has its place. It has its place for certain players. I think if you're playing at let's just say Star Point High School, and you're Riley Wagner, who's one of the best 4 players I've ever coached against to this day. It's one of the 4 players I'd take on my team, if I ever had the opportunity. The problem is Riley didn't have any help around him, right?
Yeah.
And if you're in a culture like that where maybe the program's culture isn't really strong and you don't really have a lot of classmates with you, I think he had maybe 4 classmates with him. Yeah, I would say take that opportunity and go play over there. You're going to develop better and you're not missing out on anything with Star Point High School soccer, right? But if you're in a program, like I would say over 50% of the programs in the area now, and the culture is good and the camaraderie is good, and what makes high school soccer so great, right? Being able to play and defend your school and your zip code with your best friends under the lights. With 600-700 people cheering, you got the bells, you got the horns, you got the whole thing. They all know who you are. You're representing more than just yourself.
Yeah.
Versus going to play on a Saturday morning at 11 a.m. against a program 3 states away from you in front of 10 people, right? So yes, are you developing maybe better on that Tuesday and Wednesday for potentially to go play in college? Yeah. But what are you foregoing in the process? You're foregoing nights like that when you win and you're on that bus heading home maybe, and you're blasting music on the school bus and you're making memories with your friends that you're going to be friends with for the rest of your life.
Right.
And that's a tough decision for a lot of our kids to make. But if you're having to make that decision, you're probably in a pretty good spot no matter what, because that means you probably got a 6-year plan, a 7-year plan, because you're playing 4 years in college.
Right.
But you got to have that plan, right? If you know you're gonna be done at 18 years old and not play college soccer, then of course, just play high school and have a good time.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's some programs out there where you talk about Williamsville North, they call them the Blondes, right? And they're all dyeing their hair and they're all doing that, and it's like. And Johan's out there. He's one of those guys.
I know.
And that's not my thing, right? But like those are memories that those kids will never forget, right? And being a part of that program, and it's a loose culture over there for sure. But but they are competitive and they're good kids, and that culture in terms of like the buy-in and the love they have for one another is something that you won't see in many programs. So I got to give respect where respect is due. But like you don't have that at the club level, at the DA level. You don't have something like that. So every high school program has their thing that just carries on for generations and decades of time. And for them, that's that. And for other programs, they have their own thing. But I mean, high school soccer is an opportunity for most, and you don't need to be the best to play it, right?
Right.
But like a Gavin Steinacher, for example,
Yeah.
he bled Willie's soccer,
Yeah.
and it was perfect for him. He's a competitive kid. He's going to be a competitive person outside of sports just because of the way he's raised, the way he's built. And, ultimately that's part of that educational opportunities that high school provides is the competition level that sometimes I feel like MLS kind of, it's more about, hey, was there enough, how many college coaches were on that sideline? They could be 2-6 on the season, but if there are 30 college coaches on the sideline and they got an assist or they got 60 minutes of playing time, they're happy, right? For these guys, they're playing against a crosstown rival. They're playing against the team that knocked them out of playoffs the year before. They had to sit with that for 9 months, 10 months, that feeling of losing to that.
They're playing against club teammates potentially too.
Club teammates. They all know each other, and
wreck.
that is, that they don't just want to wreck them for that 80 minutes because high school soccer is an 80-minute game. They want to wreck them for the weeks leading up to that, and we're building competitive kids through sport that I'm not certain MLS Next is building. They're building on development.
100%.
We're building on competitors.
Yeah.
And again, that's not to say that we're better soccer than them by any stretch of the imagination, but I think we're preparing them for life a heck of a lot more than some of these other programs who are more focused on just being able to hit a long ball 60 yards on a rope, 40 yards on a rope, or handle a long ball out of the air 50 yards on a rope. And
I mean, I talk about it all the time with the ECNL, where we have girls that they will go to a showcase. They'll lose the first 2 games, and they'll win the 3rd game. But this particular girl won't play much in the first 2 games, and she only plays in the 3rd game that they won.
Yeah.
And she's upset. Why? Because the college coaches of her top choices were at games 1 and 2, but they go home and they didn't watch the 3rd game. And I'm like, wait a minute. So you won. You played really well. You probably got some good tape. You maybe scored the goal, the only goal of the weekend for your entire club, and you're upset. And you're upset because the college coaches of your choice weren't there.
Right. You're not upset that the girls and the team that you committed to since November 1st, or really realistically nowadays September 1st, you guys lost. You guys were 1-2 or whatever you were for that weekend, and you guys have been together for basically for years, not just for the season. And you've talked probably about this showcase all season long. And you went to 1-2 or whatever it was, and
so true.
You're not worried about that. You're just worried that the college coach wasn't there, and that's problematic.
They have them circled on their calendar. They're like, I really got to get ready for this. So that's when I'll have an influx of kids coming in. Like, oh, got to get ready for Florida, and I'm like, jeez, why aren't you getting ready every 365 days out of the year?
If you're good, they'll find you, right? And if I'll give you a quick example. Jack Root. Jack Root is the best best player I've coached at Williams-Willis, and I've coached a lot of good. The Biscaglia brothers are right there. The Musaz Biscaglia brothers, the Jesiaro. There's tons of great players I've coached. Jack Root was the first person out in the field every day, the last person to leave. He started as a sophomore. He earned that start because we had a junior and a senior goalkeeper. We were going to send him to JV. He walked up to me, real quick story, walked up to me, it was my first year, and I'm getting to know all the players. And he shook my hand. He almost broke my hand. He came up to me. He's a sophomore. I want to try out for varsity this year. He's a sophomore. We already have 2 goalkeepers there, juniors and seniors. And the way he said it and the look in his eyes, I said, all right, we'll see you on Monday, right?
You're right.
And from that point on, he was our starter ever since. He's 5th all-time in Section 6 history in shutouts. He had 35 shutouts over 3 years. And with all of that success, he didn't get recruited at all. He had to start at a community college somewhere in, I believe, upstate New York. And fortunately, like we just mentioned with college coaches, we had an assistant coach during COVID that coached with me. He was the assistant coach at Cortland.
Okay.
But he coached with us during COVID because college soccer wasn't a thing. They closed the season down. Eric Steinwalks, his name was. And Eric had relationships with coaches at Binghamton and got him a spot as like a 3rd or 4th goalkeeper at Binghamton. And long and short of the story is Jack's been the starting goalkeeper for 3 years now over there at Binghamton. Sat out last year with an injury, redshirted last year. But how is Jack not recruited is to this day, one of the most wild things for me as a coach, because we were, as high school coaches, we're promoting the heck out of him. We're promoting the heck out of him. I never got one call. Hey, this kid's pretty damn good. What do you know? What can you tell me about him? And he was FC Buffalo starting goalkeeper this year. FC Buffalo just had their most successful season in probably a decade, and Jack was the starter for them as well this year.
I mean, especially, okay, I was a goalkeeper. So especially for goalkeeping, I think that high school soccer is vital.
Yeah.
I mean, so I played, our conference was the OAA, and we played against like a team, oddly enough, that would also dye their hair blonde, but for state playoffs only, not for the entire freaking season.
Yeah.
But Rochester Adams, Nate Norman, who is currently the coach at Notre Dame for the women, was on this team.
Wow.
He was a U17 national team, and they had a kid named Simone Omakanda who played at Penn State, who played professionally in Europe. He was also on the U17 national team. Wow. And I'm like, okay, what's going to make me a better goalkeeper? Being on the best club team where I don't face a shot or having go against those 2 psychopaths.
Right.
And
with the back line that isn't as organized and clean, so they're giving up shots constantly.
So I agree with you, and if I'm a college coach, there are certain positions and certain types of players that I would recruit out of high school. Yeah, goalkeeper is one. Yeah. You know what else? A goal scorer that scores a boatload of goals in competitive games. Yeah, because I feel like we don't develop goal scorers anymore.
Okay, so that's one of the points that I wanted to bring up with that is when we talk about goal scores.
Okay.
The highest commodity at the high school level is a number 9.
Yeah.
You can't find a number 9 right now. So if you get a number 9, like a freshman and a sophomore, quality number 9 can change a game at this level. They don't need to be seniors, right?
Right.
Why is that? Well, the 2 toughest things to develop as coaches are the athletic ability and the ball striking ability. Mm-hmm. We can't develop ball striking ability at this level, and we can't develop the athlete at this level as easy as we can coach pressure, cover, balance, depth, hips, communication, right? Scanning ability, secondary defending, all of that stuff. I can work with an average player and develop a strong back line and a good midfield and motivate on heart and compete and winning balls in the air, winning tackles in the air. We can't develop players to beat a guy off the dribble and smash a ball into the corner from 20 yards out. And so when you have that number 9, you cherish that player because that's the high. Max Voyer is the toughest player I've ever coached against at the high school level. Yeah. And that's not to say, and he's doing great at Brockport. I think he's the team captain this year. Yeah. He's had a pretty good college career. He hasn't been great, but he's been good. Yeah. But I'll be the first to say the toughest player I've ever coached against and the player that has kept me up at night the most in my 13 years as a varsity head coach is a player like Max Voyer, a number 9 who's just athletically strong, can on set pieces. You almost had to consider putting 2 people on him on set pieces because he was going to win everything. Ball striking ability, top notch, and then clutch in big moments. If you give him an opportunity, you're going to be plucking the ball out of the back of your net. Exactly. You just got to give him one shot.
Right.
And so we, as probably a whole country, don't develop number 9s. But it's not necessarily because it's bad coaching. It's the toughest position to develop. And you can develop the movement off the ball and this and that. I think that's important. But the clutch gene, when you get around the goal, to put the ball in the back of the net for one. Yeah. And then the athletic ability to not just be able to strike a ball well, but to be able to create your own shot off the dribble with the athletic ability to beat a guy off, one-on-one. And there's a kid named Jack Pacula who plays at Grand Island.
Okay.
We played him in the section championship this year, and we knew he was a strong player. And he's a left-footed player, but he plays on the right wing. And in that game, he scored the first 2 goals of the game coming in onto his left. And both of his goals were just clinical finishes. You gave him 2 opportunities, and he found the back of the net both times. And so it's not just the ball striking ability, athletic ability. It's also the ability in the big moments to keep your composure, and put the ball in the net. Because you've seen it more than anybody. It's in training, you either hit inside netting, this and that, but when the lights are bright in the big stage, they get an opportunity and they shank it 30 yards over the goal.
I think it's also like calmness in front of goal, because I think the real killers in front of goal and assassins in front of goal. I shouldn't say that word, right? But who's calmer? The goalkeeper coming off their line, willing to dive face first at your feet. Yeah. Or the player on the ball sprinting 100 miles per hour. Usually the keeper is calmer. And then I try to tell all of our players that we work with, it's like, you need to be calmer than the goalkeeper. Be calmer than the defender. Now, that doesn't mean take your time. Yeah. But that means just be calm. The best killer in front of goal that I've seen since my time here is charisma. Yeah. Just finding a way to solve the problem. The ball is A, the goal is B. A to B. Just find the way. And then she can finish in so many ways. Yeah. I do this bingo thing where I don't want you to be a one-trick pony either as a 9. I want you to be able to score as many different ways as possible. Yeah. Can you score with your head? Can you score on a volley? Can you score
off foot, right?
Left foot? Can you score off the dribble? Yeah. Can you score one touch? It's amazing to me how many youth players can score off of a dribble, but they can't score one touch, or vice versa. Yeah. They can score one touch, but ask them to dribble and shoot. It's terrible.
They can't do it.
Right. And And soccer, it's funny. Okay, in your club coaching games or days, did you ever have like a U10 team or a U11 team ever?
12 was the youngest I would go.
Okay, so think about U12. Let's say that your goalkeeper sucked. How many games are you going to win?
Yeah, not many, right?
Okay, so I think that at U12 and the professional level, you need at least 2 things. You need a goalkeeper that's going to keep you in the game, and you need a 9 or a 10 that can create chances and score goals. Yeah. If you have those 2 things, you're going to win a lot of games. Yeah. You're going to compete. Yeah. And then I add a workhorse in the midfield. Yeah. If you can add a workhorse as like a 6 or an 8, you're going to win a lot of games.
Because a 6 and 8 can win those 50-50 duels, and ultimately that leads to the 9, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't have the 6 or the 8, you're in your D3rd most of the game, hemmed in, and your goalkeeper is getting a lot more chance.
You need to have players that can get the ball to the 9.
Right.
It's pointless to have a really good 9 if they can't ever get the ball.
Front. But I also, and that's the thing. A lot of programs struggle with is like, okay, this kid is a number 9, and he can score, but if we get overrun in the midfield all game and he's on an island up front, what good is he? So do we move him back down? And Hamburg's doing it right now with their best player. He's playing CDM, and because of that, their identity has changed. They're a really defensive, organized club that really they have 4 goals, 4 and 6 goals against. They're 3-3 right now with 4 goals, 4 and 6 goals against. But they brought their best player and they play him as CDM. He's a big, strong kid. He's winning a lot of 50-50s. They don't get scored on. but they also don't score.
Yeah.
So it's tough for me. It's I think that's a great point. Yeah, the goalkeeper and the striker. The goalkeeper would be for me too, because again, you can develop a strong enough back line to minimize chances. But as you know, sometimes it only takes one, right?
If you don't come off your line, if you don't have a presence in goal,
Yeah.
First of all, your defense won't trust you.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was like Oliver Kahn way back in the day. And the people, his teammates were like, yeah, it feels like we're starting the game 1-0. It's like, I want that in goal. Yeah. But I was at a coaching course, and I had Mike Noonan, who is Clemson's head coach. And he said that I want my best passers to be 9s. And everybody, well, he actually phrased the question. He's like, who should be your best passer? And then everybody said, well, center back or center mid. No, he's like, you're 9. Because have you ever played in a game where you are outmatched and maybe that 9 only gets 3 touches on the entire game? Can they hold up the ball and be able to keep possession out of it when we're getting dominated and we can't find our target striker because we can't find him? So then, how many times have you not had that 9? You're getting dominated. You find that 9. And then it's just a boomerang effect, and it's coming right. You can't hold up the ball. You can't keep the ball, and then boom, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so
no, I get it.
It makes sense.
I get it.
It does make sense. But okay, the Hamburg guy.
Yep.
Take a drink of water if you need it. Dude, Hamburg. Their best player.
Yep.
Playing CDM.
Yep.
And in the club level, he plays where? Up
forward.
top?
He played forward last year as well. I think their coach is basing, trying to get a defensive identity, and they gave us problems in that game because, quite frankly, they were so tough and strong in the middle, and then they had they played a 4-5-1 essentially with 2 CDMs and 4 in the back. So in a way, they had a block of 6. In front of their goalkeeper, who's very good as well, and they made it really difficult on us to break down, and we really didn't break them down. We scored from 26 yards out to win the game, kind of over the wall of 6 guys. But so that's probably what their coach wrestles with. If we move them up front, we're going to lose those duels in the middle, and it's going to be in our D third the whole game. But we might be able to score more than 4 goals in 6 games because that's where they're at right now.
So the reason why I brought that back up is that I used to work with some coaches that said, this is high school level back in Michigan. This is pre-DA for the most part, where we got all like the best players, and it was a private school as well. And he always said that in high school soccer versus club, you want your best players, like your best 2 or 3 players, in the center of midfield. Do you think that's true at all?
No, I would say no. I mean, I think everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and so you're trying to always facilitate a game plan based on the competition as well and what the competition's all about. If we're significantly worse, we know going into the game that, hey, this is the better side. They're going to have 66%, 70% possession. Am I taking my strong forward or attacking center mid and bringing them a little bit lower down the field and below the ball to kind of mitigate some of that possession? Yes, of course.
Right.
If we're the better side and we're going to have 65, 70% of the possession, then I'm going to kind of play on the front foot and in a way implement that 3-5-2 and really run at them and attack them. Yeah. Because now I got width, right? I have 2 forwards up front. I'm not wasting a defender and going with 4 in the back when I can do it with 3 because we're going to have the ball most of the game.
Right.
I'm going to play a little different, and my best players are going to be a little bit more advanced positions versus if we're playing a team a lot better than us, my best players are going to kind of be in lower positions to minimize, kind of muddy up the game, so to speak, and minimize chances on both sides, right? So I would think for me, it's based on who's on the other side of the field, right, and who we're playing against before tactically we make a plan. And by the way, we know who we're playing 3-4 days in advance. We're already doing game prep on it. So we know, okay, this is the team. This is what they're really good at. This is how we're going to attack them. So style of play is based off of, obviously, you're putting your players in positions for them to be successful, but tactically as a team, you're playing based off of the opposition. So you have to have 2 styles of play. If you're significantly better than the opposition, you're going to play this way, right? If this the opposition is gonna be a game, or they might even be a little bit better than us, we're gonna play this type of way.
Yeah.
And so, that is traditionally how I go about it. But there's other coaches that don't change no matter what. They just go about it however they.
What if, our highest level, this counts for the boys too, because boys ECNL is pretty strong. When I have like a center back that plays ECNL Flash or whatever, and then I see them playing center back at high school, and I'm like, that's a missed opportunity. I'm like, that's a missed opportunity for the coach to give them a chance to like really help in their development and get them in uncomfortable situations that they're maybe not normally used to. Yeah. Like, one of the best goalkeepers that I ever had in high school, she was a U18 national team goalkeeper. She only played like up top in high school. Yeah. It's like, you know what?
That's awesome.
Right. So,
Shane Green was my first year at Hamburg. I coached Hamburg my first 6 years, and my 7th year at East, so it's 13th year overall. When I took over at Hamburg, there's a player by the name of Shane Green, who right now is a local official. He's doing great things. I'm really proud of him. But he was a center back for the best, for his age, the best group in Buffalo. Just a tenacious, tall, strong center back. And we played him at the 10 spot at the high school level. He had 28 goals his senior year. He changed the program for us, and he ultimately helped me as a coach and kind of propelled me to where I am today. And he was my first best player. To this day, one of the best players I've ever coached. He went on to play at Canisius. Got recruited under Dermot McGrain at the time, was the Canisius coach. So Dermot recruited him. But for us, he was the 10.
Yeah.
And for his club team, Empire Buffalo at the time, he was the center back. He played for the old Bonaventure coach, who I think just stepped down 2 years ago.
Okay.
Forget his name. Kwame Oduro.
Yeah.
So
do you still do that?
No, for me, so I get to your point there, he needed to be on the ball all game. He was that talented.
He was like one of the best players. He won in the middle of the field, up the field.
Yeah. And a good ball striker. And a good ball striker, too. So, he, like you said, athletic enough to create, great enough ball striker to finish, good in the air, and he can hold up play. So our CDMs could find him. He can hold up play. And like you just said, great passer of the ball, so he can play wide to our wingers and get into the box and get on the end of service and things of that nature.
Right.
So for us to put him at center back, in a way, like you said, we were wasting him. And that's why we didn't do that, because we also had other players that were of quality that could fulfill that position.
Center back. Yeah.
So it's about leverage too. It's like, okay, where am I, especially at the high school level, you might only have 8 guys, right? 8 kids that are capable enough of being on a championship level team, right? Of course, you have 21 kids that all care and are committed and this and that, but like 8 really good players. So then as a coach, you got to say, okay, what am I okay with? Because we all have weaknesses and strengths, every team, even the clearances of the world.
Right.
What am I okay giving up? And what is a non-negotiable for me in terms of how we want to play, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I wouldn't really want to attack up the right side. Maybe my worst starter will be my left winger. Mm-hmm. And just coach him on the defensive pressing abilities and get to that back post when we enter the offensive third on the ball. Okay. And that's okay. Yeah. But I'm not willing to give up anything on the back end. Our identity is defending as a team, and we don't love conceding goals at all. So my guys got to be strong in the back. The 2 forwards got to at least be able to finish.
Right.
And then, can I find another player, too, that's just a workhorse that can play CDM and win balls in the air, win tackles, might not be the most polished player in the world, but can, win those 50-50 duels and play out into those front players. And so we all kind of figure out, okay, what am I willing to give up and sacrifice, and then what is a non-negotiable in terms of how we want to attack teams. And then tactically put those 8 strong players in those spots.
Yeah. How much do you guys do video and stuff?
We do. We're on Huddle, and so some coaches will do more than others. I'm not a huge proponent of video as much as just being out in the field with the boys. We're out there 2 hours every day, 6 days a week. Right. So we do shadow play, walkthroughs, the whole thing, where they can actually see it. Because in the classroom, the They're on the phone. They're playing with the phone. They're up there. It's a dark room. The school's not really set up great for video.
Right.
But they all watch a video. I think one of the biggest things for me that's changed in kids from 2013 even to now in 12, 13 years is that they are more committed to the video. They're on the bus heading at.
They want to watch.
We were just going to Orchard Park, and they're watching film on Orchard Park on the bus, going to the game in Orchard Park.
So you have access to like other teams that you're about to play and stuff?
Well,
Is it all huddle?
Some schools don't. Some schools, don't live stream games and don't have access.
I think everybody should.
Everybody should.
I think everybody should. And there's like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that the college or a high school football had tape, and it was requirement. It was a requirement that you were supposed to send your tape to the upcoming opponent by like Tuesday or Wednesday of that week.
100%.
It's like, why don't we do that?
Right.
I think we should.
The sad truth is not a lot of coaches are going to watch the opposition's film. They're not doing their homework.
Right.
As much as they should. I mean, there's life challenges that these coaches they're teaching, and they're doing other stuff and this and that. And so, unfortunately, some coaches aren't doing their homework or they don't care enough. But I would say half of the coaches are watching film and are watching the opposition play. We're playing Frontier on Tuesday. Their coaches are watching a ton of film on us at Frontier.
Okay.
Clarence is watching film. I mean, the top programs are watching film. But what I'm most proud of in the evolution of our student athletes is that they're buying in. They're watching film. Our guys are at the Clarence Frontier game right now watching that game.
Right.
Back in the day, that wasn't really a thing, right? We didn't have access to film. Now we have the cameras. We have huddle, on the sideline before every game it's set up. And that's great for college recruiting, right? Because then they can cut up a video and submit it to colleges and things of that nature. So I think that's pretty cool.
I mean, I used to coach at a high school, Detroit Country Day, and the guys that I worked with were legends. And they would have a pregame meeting in the classroom and go over our set pieces, and then our like defensive set pieces, and then they would basically how they would do it is that they would self-scout. They would go to games. This is back before Huddle and before VO, and before YouTube, and they would self-scout and they would just tell you which players were going to be a problem. They would write out their lineup and be like, okay, this kid is a plus player. This kid's 2+. This kid's a minus. Take this kid every single day. And that's how I learned how to like scout games. And like I kind of like miss that. I kind of miss scouting.
The smell and being out on the field.
I miss scouting games. I and then helping. And then
No, I think that's still the reality of today. We'll have a 15-minute meeting before a game. If it's an away game, we'll have it at the school in a class, and we'll jump on the bus and go to the game. If it's a home game, we'll have it right outside in the locker room and then go out on the field. But our guys are ready to play, and they know their assignments and their roles and who they're marking on set pieces and how we're going to attack this team and how we're set up on throw-ins and the whole 9 yards to prepare for the game. But another thing I want to talk about is the lack of how we handle success. I think that's a topic that I think needs to get talked about in athletics in general is kids, but not only just kids, colleges, pro teams, inability to handle success properly. And so what happens after an emotional win?
boom.
A tough loss, right? And it happens more at the high school level than any other level, but it happens at the college level, it happens at the pro level, and that's usually a byproduct of leadership, right? Not just coach-led teams, but mainly player-led teams, right? And we're trying to get out of that, what is an appropriate time to flush a win? How fast, right? Mm-hmm. Is it for 24 hours? Is it 48 hours? And then how do we handle that next session? Because now there's some ego, there's some excitement, there's still kind of, drinking the Kool-Aid from the win the night prior, right? And as coaches, we need to continue to build a foundation for our players on, hey, we worked hard for this, enjoy it. It's hard to win, right? Mm-hmm. But 48 hours from now, we got another big game ahead of us. So enjoy it tonight. Captains, every time you see them in the morning, walk in the hallways, bring up Sweet Home. Just whoever you're playing.
Yeah, don't take it
Sweet Home in
lightly.
2 days. Sweet Home in 2 days. Sweet Home in 2 days.
Right.
Be ready to go. Be ready to go. And I think fundamentally you see that way too much at this level is that emotional win, tough loss.
Yeah,
Emotional win, tough
down,
loss.
yeah.
Big rival win. You're on cloud 9.
Yeah.
You get humbled 2-3 days later, right?
Against a team you don't care about.
Right, right. So for me, the best, the opportunity to be toughest on your team is after a big win. That's not when you let up. That's really when you ramp it up, right? And double down on it in terms of keeping the focus and keeping the accountability. And that's when it's needed most, to kind of keep them humble and focus on the next challenge ahead versus, again, reading the press clippings from the night before.
I love that. I like that you brought that up too. And how I used to attack that, especially if it was a middle of the road team and they played up to a better team, or maybe we beat them. And I remember I was assisting a girls team that was young, but they were kind of loaded. And we were playing the previous year's state champs, and we beat them. We beat them 2-0. And I brought them all in, and like the head coach talked and whatnot. And I go, girls, you just beat the state champs. You just screwed up. And they're like,
what?
What do you mean you just screwed up? I go, this is your standard now.
Yeah.
Because everybody is going to like think very highly of you, and they're going to prepare, and they're not going to take you lightly.
Right.
It's like, this is your standard now.
Yeah.
If we fall under this standard, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And we ended up losing in like the regional finals on PKs that year. But we were like very good, very young. But yeah.
But that's the
you
time
have
to really go after them and
Exactly.
get tougher on them when they're riding that high, because that's when you get maximum buy-in. When you come off a big win, you have maximum buy-in from your team right in that moment,
Exactly.
right? So as a coach, you can use it two different ways. You can either double down on it and really get hard on them and really make sure they understand what the standards are moving forward.
Yeah.
And your next day is your biggest day. It doesn't mean physically you need to run them like crazy by any means, but mentally in terms of focus and preparation for the next game. Or you kind of just, like I said, get a little complacent and say, wow, we're pretty damn good. And you're reading your press clippings, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, and your parents are telling you how great, you guys are doing, and because you just won a big game. And again, that's when you dip. The best time to kind of take a step back, put your arm around them is after a tough loss, right? That's when they're most vulnerable. So you got to kind of take a step back and build them up and kind of, be careful and mindful of how you approach them. But on that cloud 9, after a big win, you have maximum buy-in, and you have to make the most of it and take advantage of those moments.
I mean, yeah. It was, man, this is bringing back like so many things and so many memories. I would do that after tryouts too. So like how I would always do tryouts is if you made the team, you go to this room 3, whatever. And then if you didn't, I talk to them and blah, blah, blah. But after the team was set, I go into the classroom and I would write down, now what? Like, you're all excited that you made the team, but now what? Like, this is just getting started. Don't like go and text all your friends or text your mom and dad crying that you made the team. It's like, now what?
Yeah, what do we do with it?
Gosh, yeah.
When you're talking about building a team, and we've heard the old saying 1,000 times, right? It's not about the best 22, right? It's about the right 22 in building a team. And fundamentally, we struggle with this as well at the high school level. At the high school level, we have, on most teams, 14 to 15 players that are going to actually play in the games. We'll call it 14. In big games that are tight, close, this and that, you're probably bringing 3 guys off the bench. You're bringing 1 guy up at forward, maybe 1 guy up on the wings, 1 guy up in the middle, and you're probably not subbing your back line.
Right.
So Now, what do I do with 15 to 22? What types of players do I want to build my culture based on my core values, which we're going to get into probably in a little bit? What kind of players do I want 15 through 22 on my team? You probably want 3 that are developmental, that the following year, if you get them every day in training, because remember, as you know, they develop in training, they don't develop in the games, right? So if I know the next year he could be a gamer for us, I'm putting him on the team. It could be an 8th grader, 9th grader, 10th grader. It doesn't matter the age. And then the other 3, high energy culture, we over me type players, right? 15 to 22 can't be a senior that's not going to get playing time and that doesn't have high energy with a we over me approach. That you got to have that conversation one time on cut day and say, hey, I'm sorry, it didn't work out this year.
Right.
I appreciate you giving it everything you had.
Right.
Because if you don't have that one tough conversation on that cut day, you're going to have 7 or 8 of them.
It could
throughout
derail
the year.
an entire season.
Right.
Yeah.
That cancer is going to spread, right? Because they think they are entitled to time because they're a senior. And you're not going to play them. But, they're a senior, I'm going to put them on the team. But what's going to happen is that cancer is going to trickle through the team if you allow it.
Right.
So that conversation has to be had. What type of experience do you want from this? I see you as a high-energy player. You're a great teammate. You're not going to get playing time, but this is how I feel like you can help our team. Right. Take 24 hours, talk with your family about it, come back to me the next day with the decision. I want you on the team because I think you can provide great teamwork, good energy, good enthusiasm. You can be part of our core values, but you're probably not going to play unless we're up 3, 4, 5, nothing. So talk to your parents, let them know. Once you have that communication, they take the 24 hours. 99% of the time they come back. I love to take a roster spot. The problem,
the
problem is coaches say, they should know playing time is not right. But did you have the conversation with them?
Exactly.
A real conversation, not to the whole team. Did you pull this young man aside one-on-one for 5 to 10 minutes and let them know that you believe in them? This is the role that you need them to fulfill on the team, and give them 24 hours to think about that role before they accept the position. Because right away they're going to be like, yeah, I'll take it. But 4 hours later they might be like, I don't really want to do this. So give them time to think about it, talk with their family. I think a lot of coaches struggle with that. I don't think they...
How long did it take you to develop that?
Probably 2 to 3 years. But that's, I think, one of the few things I'm good at is just the people skill side of it and the communication side of it. And
because it's hard. It's hard to make it's hard to make number 22 feel like they're part of the team when they didn't even take their warm up off.
When you want to know if you're a good coach, don't ask your top 3 or 4 players on the team about a certain coach or about yourself. Ask the bottom 3 to 4 players on a team. And if the bottom 3 to 4 players on a team are saying, that coach, I love him, that coach is the real deal, then you're doing something right.
Nailed it.
Right? So you have to cultivate relationships just as strong with your bottom 3 to 4 as you do with your top 3 to 4. Because you're already giving your top 3 to 4 enough attention. Maybe not as much personally as much as soccer-wise on preparing them for games and this and that, but those other bottom 3 or 4 are really the link between you and the team, and they could either build a team up or ultimately derail a team. And so you have to be intentional about the time and the effort you're giving to serving them, making sure they're right. So that's one thing I always believed in, is that your relationships with your bottom 3 or 4 have to be almost stronger at times than your top 3 or 4.
100%. One of the best compliments I ever got was actually from a player. She was a sophomore on a very good varsity team, and she said that the reason why blah blah blah, you're one of the best coaches I've ever had, is that you treat everybody like, if I'm harping on something that we're doing and player number 1 keeps on screwing up, I'm going to tell them that there's stop wrecking the drill, as if it was number 18 on the roster. And I learned at a very young age that I could judge coaches on how they treat the top 3. If they allow their top 3 to get away with murder and give them a license, like I would always say, like 007, like license to kill, and And then if player number 17 did that, I would yell at.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a red flag to me. That, you know what, that coach only coaches to the top half of the roster. But then there are coaches that only coach to the bottom half of the roster, and it's hard to find coaches that can coach everybody.
Yeah.
And that's one of the
critical,
hard,
right?
and like you were saying about the hard conversations, a lot of coaches are bad at that too.
Yes.
That they don't know how to coach players 7 to 15. They only coach. They're really hard on these people, and they let this get away with murder.
Do whatever they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
How
You
do
know,
you
you
build
gotta
your
be,
team
you gotta
culture?
acknowledge that, you right, and that's that to your recent question. You gotta acknowledge that. So like, a couple things that jump out for me is like we had our best offensive player. We won 8-0 our first game. Our best offensive player, he's a captain, didn't score a goal or an assist. He was the happiest guy in the group. You gotta acknowledge that. So we get off the bus. Before they get off the bus, I say I want to make one thing clear. I said, you know, you got a good team with the we over me approach. When you're top offensive player, your captain is just as happy as everybody else in an 8-0 win when he's got 0 points. And they start to see that, and they're starting to connect the dots, right? Oh my God. And then you acknowledge the player on the bench that brought the most energy on the sidelines. We're a little bit rambunctious on our sidelines. We bring good energy. I think it feeds into our players on the field. So you'll see in our culture, we're one of our core values is energy and everything.
Yeah.
Competition is king.
Right.
Team comes first. Those are 3 of our core values out of our 4th. 4th is professional approach, but those 3 are energy, right?
Yeah.
And the energy and the values got to kind of be based off of the personality of the leaders, right?
Right.
Which obviously starts with me, right? That's kind of who I am, the type of coach I am, and they feed off of that. But I'll acknowledge the guy on that bench that's bringing the most energy, getting the guys going, getting the guys buzzing. And then you'll get the other side of it defensively, which is our identity as a program. We've led Western New York at large schools in shutouts 5 out of the last 6 years. Block shots, we call them sacrifices. A blocked shot is just as strong and just in our program equal to a goal, right? They always say, how come there's not more goals in soccer? I don't understand, right? These goals are huge. How come there's not more goals in soccer? Well, quite frankly, most shots are blocked, or at least they should be blocked, right?
Absolutely.
And you see it every time with the goalkeepers in the pro games. These kids turn on the TV. These goalkeepers are always yelling. They're always yelling at their play. Well, why?
Yeah.
Because if the player doesn't block a shot, or misses assignment, or is off on his marking, even to the slightest foot, it can cost a team a goal. And when you miss a pick and roll in basketball and the team gets 2 points, it's 2 points in a 90 to 80 basketball game.
Right.
But when you miss a marking assignment by a foot in the game of soccer, you lose 1-0. And so attention to detail in the back is important, whether it's blocking shots, whatever it might be. And so acknowledging the things that might go unnoticed with other programs, we try to do our best to be intentional about little things like that. The kid's running in. He might be a minute late to practice. And you see him. Well, the first day you see the kid walking in, so you're intentional in front of the whole team about really ripping into that kid.
Yep.
And then the next day, 3 kids come out of this we had our summer camp. They were working the fair, and they were going to be like 5 minutes late. This last month, and they get parked and they get out of that driveway or the parking lot. Their mom drops them off, and there's 3 of them, and they come bolting in like a bat out of hell, and all the boys start clapping.
Coachable.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're talking. So like you don't just, hey, that's a good save, that's a good goal. Hey, Johnny had 3 assists today, but they all know that Johnny's great and he had 3 assists. How about the rest of the team? What do they do?
Do you keep track of blocked crosses too?
Blocked crosses, no. I mean, we coach it. I mean, that's huge, right? I mean, the how you handle, especially at our level, how you handle those bubbly balls, those whipped-in crosses. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing now when it's a 70-degree day in early September, right? But the championships aren't won now. Championships are won in late October, early November, where the weather is 40 degrees, winds 40 miles an hour. And usually goals are caused by self-inflicted wounds, not by a 7 to 10 pass build-up that ends up in the back of the net on a 40-degree late October day when the winds are going 35 miles an hour.
Most goals aren't scored from a goal kick that they build out of the back. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God. As a goalkeeper, I also played on the field as well up until about like 16, but that led to my coaching. And whenever we would score a goal, I'd rewind the tape, air quotes, rewind the tape and be like, where did we lose possession of the ball? Yeah. Why are we just kicking it out of bounds when you could have just turned and found a teammate? Yeah. But instead, you kicked it out of bounds and they scored off of a throw-in.
Yeah.
Go back. Okay. Oh yeah. You know what? Our back line didn't handle pressure cover that well, but you know what? Our forward, who couldn't hold the ball, is the reason why we lost the ball. Right. Rewind your game. Don't
Center back beat him to the ball.
Don't just yell at the goalkeepers and the.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, that's the big thing is that self-inflicted wounds usually cause you games, and usually those self-inflicted wounds are based off of turning the ball over in bad spots. Sometimes it's based off of even little things like how you're set up on your throw. I mean, the last 30 minutes of every practice before we play a game, we do throw-ins and set pieces. Now it's just I've been doing that for 7 or 8 years now. So the last 30 minutes of every single practice leading up to a game. So the practice before the game.
Yeah.
Throw-ins and set pieces based off of not just how we want to do and how we want to improve based off of our performance the day before, but also about the opposition. They might have a long throw in there in our defensive third that with 2 guys that are able to flick it on to the next. We got to be able to front that player and negate that. They might have set pieces that have 16, 19, and 10 are very dangerous. We got to make sure they're handled. Whatever it might be, you have to be prepared, and not just set pieces, but at the high school level, believe it or not, throw-ins are a big component versus like. I think the better the level, throw-ins are not really that big of a thing. But at the high school level, defensively, they're not organized fast enough. Like they get caught. Sometimes they turn their back on the ball, right? Yep. The ball goes out of bounds and they turn their back and they're not marking or organizing fast enough. But a lot of it is actually your throw-ins on your defensive half of the field lead to the opposition's goals because you're not set up properly.
Right. And, oh my God, it's situational soccer.
Soccer.
They talk about it in football all the time. Situational football. Yeah. Belichick is great because it's situational football. There's so many. Niagara University women gave up a terrible goal last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago. And it was just... It was a last-minute free kick. They're up 2-1. Last-minute free kick. Nobody is in front of the ball. This is under a minute left. This is 45 yards out on the right flank going towards goal.
Gotcha.
And there's a girl 10 yards from her teammate. Nobody is in front of the ball, and nobody is with the teammate. Girl passes it to the team. Everybody's at the top of the 18 marking up because they think that it's just going to be a long serve. They pass it 10 yards, and then she serves it in, and then they score a goal.
Right.
It's like, why isn't anybody in front of that? Situational soccer. Yeah. You talk about the defensive throw-ins.
Yeah.
The best teams, especially late in the game, if you're losing late in the game and it's 1-0 and you have a defensive throw-in, how often do you see the ball thrown down the line and then it just goes right out of bounds?
Yeah.
Or they win it and go.
Yeah.
The best teams switch the field out of the attack on a throw-in. So fake it like you're going that way, but then go this way, and then you're switched, and then you have an opportunity when you're down 1-0 late in the game. I can't stand watching so many college games where you're down 1 and every throw is down the line, down the line, down the line, and they're just wasting time.
Even if you bypass the center back and get into the goalkeeper, he can then play the other outside back on the other side, and you can start the build up on that side.
Right.
But
you can give up a goal if you go negative and you're only 5 yards,
Right.
You're going to give up a goal.
Right. Traditionally, yes. I'm saying if the team is up on you late 1-0, they're probably dropping an extra body deep.
Yes.
Which is when then you can go backwards, right? I'm not, especially at our level, I'm not an advocate of throwing the ball backwards to the center back.
Right.
But usually if the team is up 1, they're dropping bodies deeper.
Yeah.
And that's where you can hopefully go backwards and get it off to the other side. But like that little things like that at our level, it's actually something that you have to train. Like we train throw-ins and stuff. We have calls on throw-ins and stuff.
Right.
Because it is a big component of the game. And I didn't do that my first 4 or 5 years. But once we got cooked for a couple goals, I said, well, I got to start implementing this because it's a a part of the game.
The U.S. men's national team has a throw-in coach. They have a set piece
they got set
coach.
Piece coaches. Yeah,
it's like, and then you watch the U.S. men's national team. We look the best during a set piece.
Yeah,
we look like we know what we're doing. Every time else the ball is playing, we don't.
But yeah, that like you said, situational plays, train. Like you're up a goal, you're down a goal. That's one thing I feel like our kids are lacking right now is that they situationally, like you just said, with throw-ins, but situational play in terms of, all right, you're up a goal, there's 15, 16 minutes left. What are some of the things you want to do? You're down a goal, there's 15, 16 minutes left. How do we want to play? What are some of the things we want to do? And again, you can only coach it so much. You tell a kid, hey, you're down a goal, we can't foul.
Right.
We can't foul. But they're pissed off. They're down a goal, right? They're chasing the game. So what do? They foul. And the team, kills 3 minutes off the clock, like little things like that. But situationally, our kids are not prepared, as well as they should. And that's, I don't know if it's just a lack of watching soccer. I don't know if it's a lack of, coaching, whether it's the club level, whether it's the high school level, that we all got to get a little bit better on educating them on that.
Let's say you're down 1-0. And you get a free kick 22 yards in the center, like right around like the D arc. Do you select the free kick taker, or do you allow the players on the field to dictate that?
We have one player that knows he's taken. If it's in a shooting range area, he's taken. If it's in a service, like you just said, 22 yards out shooting range, we have a player that takes it. If it's in a service range area, that's a non-shot, we have a different player that's taking it.
Got it.
And then if we have a middle third set piece, kind of closer to half, we have a different player taking it. So it all is based on the spot and the type of player that you need to execute the play.
What about PKs?
We have one. We have a player.
One player?
Yeah. Different really than those 3 that I just mentioned.
Even if he's the one that gets wrecked?
Yes. Well, unless he can't get up or whatever.
Right.
But
okay.
He's the guy for that. And you usually have one until you usually give him one miss. If they miss twice in a year, then you gotta have a different designated kicker. But if they miss one, you're gonna give them the benefit of the doubt because you truly believe that that's still your best taker. A miss can happen, right? But if they miss 2 in one season, then you're starting to, you kind of have a backup plan in your head.
We have some good players that come through here and they'll complain. It's like, man, I was going to take this free kick and she's scored on free kicks all the time. It's like, but she took the ball from me.
Oh,
and I'm like,
we don't have that.
I'm like, listen.
I don't see that.
And I tell this to all of our players. I go, when the foul occurs, you be the player that goes and gets the ball, no matter what.
Right.
Because that is telling your coach, oh, she wants this. She wants to take it.
Yeah.
If it's a foul for a PK, you go and get the ball. If you want to take the PK, you go and get the ball.
Yeah.
Don't just wait for your coach or anything like that. Go and get the ball.
Yeah.
It's
that
confidence.
That confidence that we want to see.
Right.
Right. But I generally don't see. I think when you establish it from day one, hey, this is the guy that's doing this. This is the guy. And again, you make adjustments throughout the year. Like, hey, our corners aren't being put in the ball placement isn't great. We got to make an adjustment, and they understand. But you just got to be authentically you, and just be real. And they know that, kids these days, they can sense a cheat. You can't cheat kids nowadays, and so you want to be real with them 24/7. You want to be authentic with them. You want to be honest with them, and they respect honesty, from a coach versus a coach maybe, telling them something they might want to hear, but they really don't believe is the truth.
How do you prepare for like state tournament PKs?
So
shootouts?
I mean that's
So hard to replicate.
it's so hard to replicate. I mean, we won't face that until playoffs, right, in late October. So we won't really even start thinking about it till early October. But I will say the confidence is big. So as you and I said earlier, in those clutch moments, is a kid clinical around the goal?
Yep.
Or has he had 800% scoring opportunities this year and he's only scored 2 of them? Well, that shows me that he's nervous around the goal. So a player like that, I'm not gonna have as one of my top 5 takers, right? But yeah, our best is gonna go first all the way through 5. Or if we put our best players first, we're gonna try to go second. We're gonna try to win the toss.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I should say that we're gonna try to win the toss and go first to put pressure on the opposition.
Okay.
And you usually have about 6 to 7 players that you're confident in. And so you're not wasting a half an hour of your practice having 22 kids take penalty kicks.
Do you base it off of the game, though? Like, you go in with a set of 5, and you know who your 5 are. But let's say number 3 has the worst game of their lives.
Yeah, I really haven't thought that deep into that. But yeah.
So I got a story. So we went in. This is that same year that we beat the state champs.
Yeah.
We lose in PKs. It is girls soccer is played in the spring in Michigan.
Yeah.
And it was like 90 degrees. We're going double overtime and then into PKs.
Over 100 minutes, yeah.
We have a sophomore played at that time it would have been ECNL, but very good player. But she had a terrible game. And she's like, I don't want to take a PK.
Yeah.
Well, you're like our top third. So you're shooting third. Skied it.
Oh,
and I'm like, so I learned from that moment on, I'm like, we need to listen to players and base it on, we know our top 5, but if this girl has an unbelievable
they say I don't
game,
want to take it, then they're not taking it.
Or let's put the girl that had the most amazing game of her life in there. And I always like to ask teams, I'm like, okay, how many of you have made it to PK before? How many of you have missed a PK before? I want the players that have done both because I know that you can live with the miss.
Yeah.
Because I don't want a player taking a PK that can't live with a miss. Michigan actually took away PKs from their state title game for about 10, 15 years. The reason, and then they would have co-champions. They would just co-champions. Reason is kid committed suicide after missing a state championship PK. Oh, and this was like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's back and they go to PKs, but
yeah,
I mean, that's real. Okay.
The game doesn't define you, right? I mean, I try to, especially when you talk about making those cuts and you have to have players that, you're sending away for that last time potentially as seniors. And you try to explain to them that this does not define you as a person. This is just one small part of your life. You have all this other stuff to live, and you're still great at this, and you're still have a great personality, and you're a good team person. You have good lead, whatever their qualities are when you're sitting them down and you're letting them go, and you're just making sure they understand that a game is just a game. And there's a team that wins and there's a team that loses, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and it's just a game.
The best PK practice tune-up that I have ever seen. I was at Country Day with the guys that, between the two coaches on the boys and the girls, they've won like 22 state championships. Wow. It's insane. It's dumb. Oh, so this is after a game. I think we win this game. But they line up everybody on the 18.
After the game.
This is after the game. They line up everybody on the 18. 2 goalkeepers are over here. And one by one, they take a PK. If you score, next shooter. If you miss, sprint 18 to 18. This one particular time, you would do this every year, but this one particular time, there was like 3 kids that missed 5 times.
Oh my God.
Parents, now imagine, parents
After the game
are
already.
still
They're
in
waiting.
the stands. All of a sudden, when kids would score, they would cheer because they were like, we want to get out of here. We want to go home.
Right.
So then all of a sudden, that replication of, like,
Pressure.
oh my God, I
Pressure.
missed.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was one of the best times. And I think we did it with, like, we weren't done until there was like 10 goals. So we just kept on going until there's 10 goals. But then the goalkeepers would have to run too. So the goalkeepers were trying to save them. Because if they scored, one of the goalkeepers would run.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, it was insane, and it worked. A lot of times it worked.
Yeah, you try to figure out ways to manufacture pressure in training, right, as much as you can. You know, I mean, of course, running and this and that, but it's tough to manufacture game-like situations and scenarios.
You can't.
You know?
It's insane.
Especially when your season's on the line, you know, and for some of these guys as seniors, their last real competitive soccer game they'll ever play again.
Yeah.
You know, and those are tough. Those are tough to manufacture.
Where did you play? What's your background? Like, what
So
position
I played
did you play?
with Buffalo Premier, which moved to Empire Buffalo. So
Okay.
growing up locally, played there. Went and played at Williams Lease, where I'm coaching now. Played for Rudy, who was on the show.
Rudy Pomper?
Yeah, I was a 3-year captain for him at Buff State. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Got it.
Yeah, Rudy and I are great. I love him. He's one of the best coaches I've ever had.
Who's your coach at Buffalo Premier?
We had a mix. Bobby D'Annunzio, who's coaching at Amherst right now.
Yeah.
Ralph Friedenberg, who coached at Kenny's for a while. Ralph was a great coach.
Okay.
Long-time Kenny's coach. He stepped down maybe 3 years ago. Chris Peeler, who coached Chris Peeler, was a long, legendary coach way back. Technical coach. He coached there for a while, and then he coached with me at Hamburg for 5 years.
Okay.
So yeah, we had great coaches all the way through.
Yeah. What was your first coaching stint?
Brendan Murphy at Amherst. Murphy at Amherst, who I met. He coached with Rudy at Buffalo State. Brendan was his assistant coach, and so as a player at Buffalo State, met Brandon, who then took over as the director of coaching at Amherst. I always knew I was a coach.
Yeah.
Because I just physically I didn't have this. I was a good player. I saw the game well, but as my college career continued, the things I loved about playing college soccer, the competition, the leadership, those that you could still do both as a coach. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. I didn't like getting elbowed in the head in Suniac in back-to-back games because we used to play the Friday, Saturday slate. Oh my and I'm a 5'7" central attacking midfielder. But I loved the leadership. I loved the competition. I loved preparing for games, and I had the people skills and the business background and things of that nature where I knew that I would transfer to coaching. Yeah. And so Murphy offered me a 12-year-old Amherst team. That was like my first gig. And then from there, 2 years later, I was in the DA coaching with Ben and Rory and those guys. And I got my own team for Empire Buffalo under Tom Garrigan.
Oh, yeah. Tom,
whose son is probably a top 3 player in the area right now. Bennett.
He scored like 3 goals the other night, 4 goals.
Fantastic. And then... from there, I was like, I need to get a varsity head coaching job. I was 22 at the time, but I was hungry. Yeah. And Hamburg was the only job open, and it was 35 minutes away, but I said, I'm doing it, and I took over there, and then, went to East after that. So it's been a good journey, a blessed journey, met a lot of great people along the way, and it's made me a better person today, for sure.
What? Okay. And I've brought this up in the past. I don't care as much anymore about it, but like the competitiveness in high school soccer around here. Like I've seen scores, and sometimes they're like 10-0.
Yeah.
What do you do when you're up 7-0? Do you sub so? I never put a restriction on my teams from scoring because of what we said earlier. We don't develop goal scorers. We don't develop killers in front of goal. Yeah. So why would I ever tell a kid not to score? Now, what I would do is maybe put the 9 back in the back line and put somebody else up top so that they can get used to scoring. But I never liked 10 passes. Oh, you got to score with your weak foot. Right. You have to score with your head. I think that's more insulting than beating a team 22-0.
Right.
And what I actually used to do is if you score, I just sub you off. And then every single time I go, was it worth it? And they're like, yeah, I scored.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Just sit
I mean,
down.
it's a challenge. I mean, there's such a competitive imbalance of levels of play and teams
Right.
and things of that nature. And it depends also on the time of year. So I'll be honest, like, first, you only get 16 games per state, right? You only have 16 games. And whether it's your first, second, or third, you're playing a league game one of your first 3 games of the year. Your first, so for example, our first game of the year this year, we have 7 new starters. So, we're up 5-0 at half. All right. So now I'm preparing for our second and third game.
You're still developing your style of play with these
developing
new guys.
our players, getting them to mesh, getting them to play well. I can't be concerned with the feelings of the opponent at that moment.
Right.
I need to continue to prepare my team, which is my job, is to prepare my team
Right.
for the season.
Yeah.
And so I tell the parents too in the parent meetings we have every year. It's, hey, if we're up 4 or 5-0, there's playing time isn't guaranteed, yada yada. We've all been there. We've all had those speeches and talks with parents.
Right.
But I do tell them the first quarter of the year, mostly our starters and our key reserves are going to be the only guys playing for at least the first 65 minutes of every game.
Yep.
It's so like we were up 7-0 in our 4th game, and our starters played up until the 60th minute. The first game, they played up until the 60th minute. If it's the 13th game of the year, they're only playing a half. So it depends what time of the year it is, because early in the year you're trying to get everybody to gel together for those games that you're only winning 1-0 or potentially losing 1-0. And so I think when you are up late in the year and it's 9-0,
Right.
yeah, you're playing your bench. But I think at this point we won. We got carried away last year. We won one game 15-0.
Yeah, I saw that.
And and I got a call that Monday morning.
From what, the AD?
No, it was actually the chairman. He says, "Hey, you got to take it easy on some of these teams." And my thing is always, again, I'm coaching my team, and I want the guys that aren't playing in most of these games to go out and have fun and score goals. But I get the other side of it. So from now on, I'm keeping that like 11 or 12 max. So if we get to that point, like we did later in that year last year, we couldn't go to goal. We couldn't go to goal, so we had to just
Was
knock
that an
it around.
ECIC game?
It was, and we were in that. It's like, why are they?
So then that's your fault, Chairman.
Right, that you're putting these guys in our league.
So how Michigan is set up is, when we get to the state tournament, it's based on class size and school size, or beds that you said. But the league, your regular season league, is built on like how good you are.
Yeah.
So in Oakland County, or what would be here Erie County, you have the top 10 teams play each other.
Yeah.
The second top 10, or the 11 to 20, and then drop down. So then we don't have regular season games that are 15-0.
Right.
But if you're, no offense, but if you're, let's say Clarence, having to play a league game, and I don't know if this is true or not, having to play Sweet Home, it's going to get ugly.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be in the same league.
Right.
I think that is a problem in where we are right now.
Yeah.
I think the reason why the DA started was more meaningful games.
Yeah.
They wanted more meaningful games and less games. Now, we can talk about high school schedule and all that and the craziness of that, but it's the 15-0 that they wanted to get rid of.
Yeah.
Even though there are some
generally
MLS,
for A, that's never going to happen again, but B, that's an anomaly of like once every few years.
Right.
Usually a team like that isn't in a league where they could play a team 15 goals better than them.
In Michigan, those scores don't happen until the state playoffs.
Okay, because then they have to play.
Because then they have to play,
Yeah.
because it's based on class size, and then we're beating teams.
Yeah.
But in Michigan, there's also a mercy rule. If you're up at halftime 8 goals, game's over.
It should be like that.
It should be like that because, okay, we played an inner city team. I forget where it was from. There was like Detroit, Cesar Chavez. So you can understand what kind of like school that would be. And we scored 2 goals in the first 2 minutes.
Oh my
and we see the poor goalkeeper just start ripping his gloves off, throwing it, taking his jersey off, and throwing it away, and just walking off the field. And then so another kid went, and I'm like, oh no, these poor kids. And what's the point of playing all 80 minutes if I can't even go to goal?
Yeah. Well, they do that in baseball. You know that locally they do that in baseball. They
For high school?
Yeah. I think it's 11. Like our baseball team,
isn't
Mercy.
soccer?
I think they use it Mercy. I think they call it, and they Mercy the team, and it stopped in like the 3rd, 4th inning this year in the playoffs.
Why doesn't soccer do that?
I don't know. They should. They probably should.
Just say 10 goals. It used to be 10 goals and 10 minutes into the second half. Then they moved it to 8 goals at halftime.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's like,
Then it gets chippy, and
It
you got a
gets
game 2
chippy.
days later, and which,
Especially
by
in
the
the
way,
state
at that
playoffs.
point, your guy should really be off the field anyway. But,
so I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish there was.
yeah,
I'm glad that they got rid of overtime in regular season.
no,
Or did
no,
double overtime? Did they get rid of?
no.
You
So
guys
what happens
still
is
play.
we go 2-10, sudden death, first goal wins. If nobody scores, then it ends in a draw. So you play 80 minutes and then 2-10s. I think girls is they play the full 2-10s no matter what. Boys is first goal, game over.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I think playing the full 2-10s, I think playing overtime at all. I'm thinking
Yeah,
of
yeah,
college.
yeah, yeah.
College got rid of overtime.
Okay, yeah.
College got rid of overtime. And I think high school having overtime in the regular
it's
season
crazy.
is insane.
I love it though, but I mean,
Of
you score a
course.
goal, you
Oh,
score
yeah,
a goal
it's
in
nuts.
overtime, game's
and
over.
you want to talk
It's
about
not
the
like,
atmosphere?
Yeah.
And your goal meant something.
Yeah, because it's a close game. Because obviously, it's
Exactly.
overtime, which means
Yep.
2 competitive teams
And
going
it could
at
be
it.
for the conference
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
I understand that part of it and keeping it. But, dude, the schedule. I mean,
Right.
how many weeks do you have? 3 games. And you're
I mean, I'll be
adding
honest.
minutes.
The schedule, I think, is overrated.
Okay.
I'm so sick of these coaches saying the schedule, the this, the that. My guys. These are 16, 17-year-old kids.
Right.
That have plenty of energy to them and want to play soccer, want to play the game they love. They'd rather play a game than listen to me for 2 hours at a practice, trust me. So we're going to be out there no matter what anyways, because that's what we sign up to do. We sign up to prepare our team, and throughout the journey of a year, we're going to be together 5-6 days a week no matter what. So
Right.
they want to play. And so I don't think the schedule is that we're playing 2 games a week.
Right.
It's nothing
You
exorbitant.
try to put 2 days
You never
in
play
between.
back to back. You don't play back to back. And if you do play back to back, it's literally on you. You signed up.
It's
for
on the
that.
coaches, right?
It's on the coaches. Actually,
I saw a back-to-back last year. I forget. I think it was on the girl side. And I'm like, what are
I've
you
seen
doing?
it.
I saw Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm like, what are you doing?
yeah, no, the schedule is so overrated. We play 2 games a week. Sometimes you might play 3 games a week.
Saturday. Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, these are 80-minute games. These are 16-year-olds. They can play.
And then
2
it's on
days
you
a
to
week.
sub more.
Yeah, you got to sub more. You got to, again, I'm not advocating back-to-back days, right? Which, by the way, they've done it in college for a long time. They just stopped that, I think,
Right.
recently. But we've done that. We did that in college for 30 years. You didn't
Right.
even. The fields are the best they've ever been, right? You're
Right.
not playing on muddied up, dirty,
It's true.
unsafe fields. The players are, I would say, understand their bodies more than they've ever understood their bodies. They're not showing up with Burger King and McDonald's to practice.
Right.
Our coaches are educated more than ever on getting proper rest. So if we do play a game on a Monday and we play a game on a Wednesday,
That Tuesday
Tuesdays walk
session.
through, shadow play, recovery.
Yeah.
We're not running these kids into the ground. So
Like
the whole
we were.
like we were. So I would say the schedule thing is manufactured coaches looking for something to complain about when there's really not much to complain about. It's not bad at all. It's almost too stretched out at times. Like we played Wednesday, we don't play again until Tuesday. We have 6-day break in between games. I mean, what else?
Yeah.
Now that doesn't happen between every game, but
Right.
it's an 11-week season and there's 16 games.
Yeah.
So it's not really that compact, so to speak.
Another thing that I didn't. It was kind of a culture shock when I got here, because it was always under the lights back home.
Yeah.
JV plays at 5,
Right.
varsity plays at 7, and it's
Yeah.
always under the lights. And
Yeah.
it's always added intensity when you
love
can
that.
play under the lights.
Yeah.
Why isn't every game here under the lights? Is it because of lights,
Yeah.
and it's because both seasons are in the same month same
So
season?
glad you brought this up. So, because there's a couple components to this. A, you have a significant competitive advantage if you're a home team
At 7
playing
o'clock.
playing at 5 o'clock at this level. Here's why.
Oh yeah.
The 5 o'clock home game, and I'm gonna get to why. I'm not saying this is why these games are scheduled at this time, but I'm gonna go over why. The 5 o'clock home game, your players are allowed to get out of school, go home, use the restroom, relax for a little, eat a little, the whole thing. If you're playing an away game after school at 5 o'clock, 5:30, your
bus.
kids aren't going home.
Right.
You're on it, so they're not using the restrooms because they don't want to use it in front of their teammates.
Right.
They're not eating properly. As a coach, like I'll go to Aldi's and I'll get a bunch of stuff for a away 5 o'clock game because I know they're not going home, and I know their parents aren't most of the time aren't sending them with food for after school.
Yeah.
So I'll already have prepared. I'll have peanut butter and jelly, granola bars, the whole thing. 5 o'clock game, mentally they just got out of school 2.5 hours ago, so they're still kind of there. Now they're on a bus. It could be a 30-minute ride. Next thing you know, you're down 2-0, 20 minutes in the game, saying what the hell happened, right? So I think as a schedule, the worst thing you see as a coach is a 5 o'clock or a 5:30 away game after school.
So
that being said, why coaches don't schedule night games specifically usually are because they don't want to schedule the night games. A, because maybe they have family stuff, or B, because
they're also club coaches,
and
they have to go, and
maybe they're teaching at Kenmore, right? And they're coaching at Kenmore, but they live in Grand Island.
Right.
A 5 o'clock game, they're able to stay at the school. They play the game at 5 o'clock. They go home. A 7 o'clock game, school ends at 3. That teacher's, I got to go home. I got to go 30 minutes home. Then I got to go back for the warm-up, and it's a full day, right? So I think a lot of that has to do with the convenience of coaches. Not saying that that's right, because the kids want to play under the lights. The kids want to play under the lights, so you should do what the kids want to do. But I understand there's other factors and reasons behind why some of those games don't get scheduled at 7.
And to be honest with you, that would be the same case because we would have JV and varsity travel together. So we rarely got to go home because JV, no matter what, JV kicked off at 5. So we were on the bus. You're right.
Yeah.
When I was at Country Day, okay, it's very, I think Nichols.
Yeah.
But in Michigan.
Gotcha.
And so that parent group would buy every away game. Each kid would get a lunch. It would be like Jimmy John's or like a Jersey Mike's.
Yep.
And every kid would get a sub and chips and a drink. And it's like, well, why doesn't everybody do that? It's like, well, not everybody has the money.
Yeah.
But like, how's your boosters? How's your like family?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the
parents
part of the CEO of the program rather than the coach, right? You got all the components of we have our booster manager, different than our program manager. Our program manager is kind of the link between parents and the soccer side of things. Our booster manager, he's the money guy, right? He does the fundraising, make sure we get the gear that we need, senior night, banquets, whatever the case might be, he takes care of that. So, whatever we want, we typically get.
It's good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll tell you what, a lot of these programs struggle at the booster side too because they don't know how to operate boosters the proper way, and they don't know how to fundraise the proper way. For example, there's programs that are doing a 4-hour car wash on a Saturday to make $5 a car when they have a league game on a Monday. Now, we're all off on Sundays, right? Instead of practicing on that Saturday for that league game, they're cleaning cars for $5 a car.
Right.
That should have been done in March. You should have made your money in March. You should have met with, in our case, AdPro in May, spent the money. Takes about a month and a half to get the gear in.
Right.
And on day 1, boom, all of our kids are getting everything.
Right.
These programs are doing car washes in the middle of their season to spend money on gear that sometimes they're not even getting until
after
early
the
October,
season.
middle of October.
Yeah.
And that's fundamentally wrong with how some of these programs are doing. You got to go make the money in the spring, spend the money in the summer so that day one they get what they want, right?
What do you do for fundraising?
We've done everything from mattress sales to chicken barbecues to a recent program called Vertical Raise, which in some capacities is like a GoFundMe, so to speak. But every player has to fundraise at least $100, let's say.
Okay.
Which is what they're getting back in return in gear and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So we make the money and then we spend the money so that day one they're getting everything, and so that once we do that, we're not even thinking about making money again until March next year. We're thinking about who we got to play next and how we're going to beat Frontier in this case on Tuesday night.
Right.
Which is a hard enough challenge as it is, let alone to try to do a car wash.
What time's that game at?
7:15 Tuesday night.
So what time do you guys leave? Like 5,
We'll,
4?
Bus will leave at 5:45. We'll meet at the school at 5:30.
And everybody takes the bus back too?
They're encouraged to, but if a parent has a note and wants to take them, they can. So I just gotta get a handwritten note, and they're able to go with their parents.
A lot of Michigan schools.
I tell you what, if after a loss, I want to take I don't want to take the bus either.
Exactly. Right.
So I mean, fortunately,
Michigan has gotten rid of. First of all, Michigan has pay to participate. So if you're a 3-sport athlete, you just pay like $150 and you get to play all 3 sports through the year. So that gives money into the athletic department.
Okay.
Secondly, they send buses home. So everybody has to have a ride, but everybody's accounted for because a lot of parents will just take 2 kids or 3 kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that saves so much money because think about like you're paying that bus driver hourly.
Yeah.
To just sit there for 5 hours. If you're playing a JV at 5 and varsity at 7, you're paying that bus driver overtime all the way till 9 to 10 p.m.
Right.
So instead, as soon as they drop off, that bus is gone. And they save money.
Yeah. Well, we take our own bus, and JV takes their own bus, so we don't.
So that's double.
Yeah. The JV goes at 5. They got to give me like 5 or 5:30, so they'll go, and then we take our own bus. I mean, not only that, there's not enough space to cram 2 teams on one bus to begin with, because we got 45 kids, I think, plus coaches and whatnot. But
we used to do it.
They do, yeah.
3 seats, 3 to a seat.
That's crazy. God. Well, like nowadays, the kids are spoiled. They get their own.
I get my own seat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dude, what's your background? Like, what's your day job?
So I own Arby's restaurant,
Arby's,
Anchor
right?
Bar. Yeah, 4 locations there, and then Anchor Bar on Transit, and then a real estate development company. We buy single family homes, develop and lease them out. So
how'd you get into all that?
So I've used the restaurant business to ultimately leverage off into real estate.
That's
and now
awesome.
My real estate portfolio is, growing. But this allows me to do what I'm passionate about doing, which is coach.
Soccer, yeah.
Right, because I can get out at your escape. I can leave my office at whatever time, 3:00 if I have to for a 3:30 practice.
Right.
And being at Williamsville East, which I live right there, is perfect because I can get home, get out and go. But it's a grind. I mean, I was out at 7 a.m. this morning. I was at 3 restaurants by 10 a.m. and got home, changed, and now I'm here. Or if I wasn't here, we'd be at practice today.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, we actually had an off day Thursday that I moved on and to be here. So, but
appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean it's a crazy. My daughter's a year and a half too, so managing my daughter and family as well. And so my friends know though. And quite frankly, it's not like I don't think most coaches understand how short of a season this is, and if you really want to be successful, really the commitment it entails. But like my friends know, mid-August and November 1st,
You're not gonna see me.
Don't even bother. Like my phone is silent now on weekends. They know. And we would talk and communicate, but we're not going out to dinner tonight or on Thursday night or
right.
From first thing in the morning to the end of the night, it's business to coaching to family, and it's 6 days a week. And quite frankly, I don't know how I see college coaches locally at Bills games. And in my head, I'm like, this is what you do for a living. Like, this is like you're riding or dying on professionally, that is, on your season. How do you have 7 hours on a Sunday to go tailgate and go to a Bills game in the middle of your season? Exactly. And yeah, even if you're off on a Sunday from training, just as well as anything, as the CEO of a program, there's so much admin stuff that you have to still handle to make sure starting Monday you have a fresh start to the week. That I don't know how these guys, 7 hours, 6 hours, I see them posting at Bills games.
I know like Michigan State coaches that haven't been to a Michigan State football game in like 15 years
all the games are in the fall.
Everything is like right then. It's like, and we're talking home games.
Right.
It's like,
And again, it's important to have a life and have balance and this and that, but really the seasons are 2.5 months peak. The rest is just developing for those 2.5 months. But during those 2.5 months, I don't know how some of these guys have the time that they have to be going to Bills games for 7-8 hours.
I'm with you, man.
But they find a way. They find a way.
Anything else you want to cover?
No, I think I think one of the things I'll say is that a lot of programs, I had a speaking engagement with the program recently, nationally ranked soccer program, and they're doing very well. But it's like, I'll ask them, what are your core values? And these are 18 to 22-year-old young men. What are your core values in the program? And they're looking at me like they don't know them. And whether it's a business or whether it's a team, at any level, high school, college, pro, you got to have an identity and you got to have core values. And your decisions ultimately have to be made off of your core values, and your culture has to be kind of embedded based off of whatever those core values are. And so if you ask a player on your team, what are our core values? And that player kind of looks at you like you have three heads. You haven't done a good enough job kind of promoting and discussing and advocating for those core values. And so they should know, boom, right away. These are our 3 core values. These are our 4 core values. This is what we are. This is who we are. This is what our culture is based on. And I feel like at times we're struggling as leaders running programs, maybe not emphasizing that as strongly as we should, because it should be part of our daily approach, because that's what culture is, right? Culture is dynamic. It's based on what you say, based on what you do, your actions on a daily basis. And you have to build your culture based on the core values that you want your players embodying on a day-to-day basis. And so when you ask a player what your core values are and they look at you like you have 3 heads, you're not doing a good enough job promoting it. And I think whether it's a business, whether it's a team, we all need to do better as leaders, figuring out who we are, what our core values are, and then hammering it into their heads on a day-to-day basis so that they can kind of live our culture and breed our culture based off of that.
Do you follow Anson Dorrance a lot?
Yeah. I mean, I nobody's really done it better than him, right, at the college level.
In terms of the core values too,
yeah.
Those girls can read off quotes.
They have to, right?
Yeah, they have to. You can't play.
You can't play. Sometimes you ask a player hey, what are our 4 core values? Or yesterday, and they got to know them all. Or yesterday, I asked our freshman player, I said, in front of the whole team, I said, if he doesn't get this right, we're all running. I said, who won the game between Frontier and Hamburg last night?
Boom.
He said, and he was looking. He didn't have the answer. And I said, all right, everybody start running. And the lesson in there was that we commit and sacrifice so much of our time in this journey, in the pursuit of excellence, of trying to be a championship level team, that results that do matter to us and our season, you should be honing in on and figuring out who won and who lost. You should know that, right?
Right.
And just, I think like you said earlier, how do you really manufacture culture and build culture? He'll know the answer to that on Wednesday when I ask him about a different game.
Right.
So now they're buying into looking at results and seeing who won and seeing where we are in the standings.
And they're at the Frontier Clarence game.
Right. And I think that's important. So Whether it's asking about core values or asking about things like that, you're trying to get them to get that full buy-in, because they're already buying in terms of being present. They're there, they're showing up. But what are you doing when you're there, and then what are you doing when you get home?
What are a two-part question? What are the core values, and do they change year to year?
No, they're the same.
Okay.
But there's different layers into the core values, right? Energy and everything. Team comes first. Competition is king, and professional approach. So those core values. So professional approach might be showing up early to get your treatment, right? Mm-hmm. Get your treatment before training. Not leaving water bottles on the field. You've heard of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But watching film, knowing the results of other games, right? Being a professional about how we handle and how we conduct ourselves every day. To competition is king at the root of everything. We're competitors,
right?
And it could be a small game. We do a bowling tournament every year, team bowling tournament, trophies, the whole thing. It's just, and all 4 of our captains get to pick their team. So there's 4 teams, and they do round robin and championship and this and that. Finding ways to have competition every day.
Yep.
Energy, promoting energy. If you see someone doing something that promotes energy, you're acknowledging it, right? And then team comes first, obviously, the we over me approach, and finding players that kind of embody that type of mindset, because ultimately at the end of the day, through the journey of competition, you need team first guys, and sometimes it's hard to find in the era of me over we versus we over me.
How do you deal with players treating each other well?
I saw one of our teammates walking home the other day, and I let our guys have it the next day. Our young man Jacob Torrey was walking home down Paradise.
Jeez.
I mean, this is a varsity level player. We have 8 to 9 players
that can drive.
And one of your teammates is walking home right now. And that will be the last time he's walking home.
Love it.
Because as a coach, we're not driving kids by
of course
district laws.
Yeah, of course not.
But, our guys should know better than to let any of our teammates walk home.
Right.
When they literally take them. Now, we tell them, we say, Jacob, you might need to throw him a $25 Chipotle gift card or something.
At the end of the year, yeah.
And then one of these days you're going to have your license, and the freshman's going to be taking care of you. But, you might want to throw him something, you kind of give him a little nudge. But, guys, make sure he's driving home, or make sure you're driving him home. And they know, right? But little things like that, the team dinners, the whole thing. So
there's one thing that, when you were saying about the score, knowing the score, I cannot understand. I'll have a kid in here, and they are an incoming freshman, and I go, so how many returners on varsity? Yeah. How many players are in your position? And they have no clue. And I'm like, dude, kids are so different, because me going into high school, I knew everybody. I knew how many guys were in my position. I knew the starting lineup. I knew how many guys were returning. I knew everything about the coach. It's like,
well, quite frankly, not only should they should definitely know that. That's a layup. They really should know the competition, and that benchmark team that they might have to play against, and who they have returning, where their quality players are playing, ultimately. That's not just, obviously, that's the coaches definitely need to know that, but the players should know that too. And the ones that end up being your captains are the ones that do know it, because they have the buy-in and that they care, and they're texting you, in the off season, and they're watching film, and they're, usually you could see there's a big separation. The separation is in the preparation, the old line is, right?
Yeah.
And, ultimately they separate as they get into from their freshman to their sophomore to their junior year. And then ultimately, I told the Amherst B, they interviewed me last week, I said, usually picking captains is an easy decision as a coach. They said, well, what do you mean? It's like one of the toughest decisions. I said, it's one of the toughest decisions, but you're around them for 6 years. By the time they're juniors and seniors, you know who your best 3-4 leaders are. I said, for the first time ever this year, it was tough for me to pick our 4 captains, because we had 6 really good senior leaders that all kind of deserved it. And, usually the maximum amount of captains you should have is 4. And even that's kind of pushing it a little bit. Right. I usually go with 4.
So what'd you do?
So I waited until Wednesday, actually. We had 3 locked in. And there's two that I was wanted both of them because they both deserve it. And this one young man played really well. His name's Cameron Morrow. He was our best player on Monday at Orchard Park in a game that really could have gone either way. And I went to my other captain after the game and I said, "Where's that fourth armband you still got in your bag?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, give it to me now. I'm going to make an announcement to the team, after the game, naming Cameron our fourth captain. Now, before you do that, you got to go talk to that fifth kid that you were contemplating. And you got to say, hey, I'm going to meet with you tomorrow, but I'm about to name Cameron as the fourth captain. Nothing against you. You've done everything great. We're going to talk more in depth about it tomorrow. Just wanted to give you the heads up, just so you can communicate with him too, because he kind of wanted it. The other young man wanted it, and they were both deserving, right? But Cameron really earned it in that game and made a big announcement. The boys cheered. It was a big thing, but it was the first year where I really had a challenge on who's gonna be our fourth captain.
Yeah, that's always tough. I would always, yeah. What do you do when you have, especially, let's say it's a small senior class?
Yeah, seven kids, really
and
small.
5 of them are just like, all 5 of them should be captains. Like, well, I'm
Right.
not gonna have 5 captains. Let's just have one captain.
Yeah.
That's what I used
The
to
reality is they all need to be captains. They all need to be leaders, and they all are, and that's why.
And you don't have to have an armband to be a leader.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But thanks for doing this,
Yeah.
dude.
No,
It's
my
great
pleasure.
talking to you, man.
My pleasure. Appreciate you having me.
It's awesome. How long have you been coaching now? 15 years?
About
or
15
so?
years, 2010. So, yeah, 15 years.
Wow.
So,
What year were you club coming up?
but I was,
What year?
What year? What do you mean by that?
What year were you born? What
89,
was your size?
89.
So you're in 89.
But, I was a captain, 3-year captain in college, a captain. I always was I was in a way a coach as a player, right? And so I knew that it was going to be something I wanted to do.
And that's all we want from our captains is like,
right, and they
we want
basically
a
are.
coach on the field.
Yeah.
Like, okay, end of the year awards.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of like my coach's award.
Yeah.
When I think it was David Moyes. Manchester United fired their manager, and I think it was David Moyes at the time. And Ryan Giggs took over. He was a player at the time.
Yeah.
And Ryan Giggs took over. And I started making my
As a coach,
coach's award. Yeah. So he stepped in, and he was like kind of like a player manager, but he was really just the manager.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That's my coach's award from now on. If
Yeah.
I get a red card and I don't have an assistant there,
Yep.
who's the coach of
gonna
the
be the
field?
voice?
And that's the coach's award.
Yeah.
That's the end of the season coach's award.
Yeah.
And I would do that for the rest of the time.
And
that's what I tried to build with the captains and whatnot.
And you should. We do one game at least a year, maybe 2 games a year at Salem's in the winter, where I'm there and present, just as the adult, right? But I tell them ahead of time. I say, you guys are coaching this game.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna sit here. I'm not gonna say a word from 20 minutes into the warm up until the game, up until halftime to the end. I'm not gonna talk to you guys till after the game.
And they dictate their subs and
the whole
everything.
thing.
I love it. The formation.
Subs the real big thing is the halftime adjustments that they kind of take over, because during the game, we have a certain amount. We just every 7.5 minutes we sub, right, and it's an indoor game, so everybody plays evenly in the whole thing.
Yeah.
But their big impact is before the game, warm ups, halftime, and then after the game, what we did well, what we got to work on, whatever. But in a way, you're just teaching them to take on ownership and responsibility and find that voice.
I like that.
Because at the end of the day, coach-led teams are good. Player-led teams are really great, right? And you got to have player-led teams. And how do you get player-led teams? You got to actually let them lead and get their reps, so to speak, in terms of that leadership and finding that voice.
How many are on your roster this year?
Seniors?
Nope.
Total,
Overall.
23.
23.
Yep. So.
Okay. 23.
Yeah, young team, 10 sophomores and freshmen. So we're the youngest team. We're the smallest school in the league. We're the youngest team in the league. When only a certain amount of kids show up to tryouts, you're pulling the younger guys. And
How many on JV?
22.
Are you seeing a
22
drop off in like from year 1 to year now? Is this your 7th year or 6th year?
7th year at East. Yeah.
7th year at East.
Yeah.
Are you seeing a drop off of like less kids coming out each year, or is it pretty steady?
Steady.
Good.
Now programs are having that challenge, right? It's a real thing. We're not, but what I will say is we're seeing a drop off of committed families playing club soccer. We're seeing that drop off. We're not seeing a drop off in numbers, but the numbers that are showing up are baseball players that want to get some extra action or basketball players that want to play a little bit. We're not seeing that, 7 Amherst soccer players like we had maybe my first few years. Now they're either not playing or they're playing Clarence or they're playing in Kenmore. Kenmore's got a good program going now, and kind of a mixed bag, if that makes sense.
How many Flash kids do you have?
2.
What, Nico?
Nico and Milos.
Okay.
You know Milos?
I don't think so. I know Nico.
You're gonna know Milos. He's a sophomore. He's a very good player.
What's the last name?
Oh, we got Elliot Meyer.
Okay.
He's the 8th grader on varsity right now.
Okay.
He's a good player. That's it.
What about Buffalo Stallions? Any kids?
2 or 3.
I know. It's like, why did you change your name?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. I would
Rudy,
say
I love you.
I love Rudy too. But they're still at a travel level, right? I mean, they're at a Clarence level. They're at an Amherst. They're not like premier players or any means. They're right up there with a Grand Island travel, a Clarence and Amherst travel. I would say, Flash obviously is the gold standard. I think what D'Annunzio's doing over there with, they're up and coming. Yeah, they're up and coming. I love more of my players to play with him. I did a decent amount of promoting for that club. I want our guys playing there and Flash if they can,
Yeah.
But Clarence is good. Amherst is good. If they're playing, I don't really care where they play as long as they play.
Yeah.
And again, we can supplement that in the off season, and we do.
Right.
But I tell them this is supplemental. We still want you playing club soccer with the team because they need the real game reps. And that's the struggle, is that we have a lot of players that are playing, but they're playing at the turf at the high school. They're not playing a real game.
Right.
So that punt comes in the air. The goalkeeper punts the ball in the air, and they're making business decisions nowadays on whether to head the ball because they're not used to seeing that, because they're not playing in 11v11 games as consistently as they should. They're just playing small-sided, or they're going to the local camp or whatever they're doing. They're not playing games where there's the contact, the physicality, the adversity of being down a goal, the ability to want to win a ball that's punted in, 40 yards into the air, and you got to head it out of the air with the defender on your back or whatever the case may be. They're not used to those circumstances and situations because they're not playing year-round soccer.
I love how you worded that with the supplement.
Yeah.
Like,
just like what you guys do at PlayMaker, right? I mean,
I feel like a lot of clubs, and this is going back to Michigan too, a lot of clubs hate supplemental trainers. Any supplemental training, some of them want to control everything in a player's development, from their physical fitness to their technical training to their day in and day out lives, basically. And they don't trust anybody else, and it's like, nope, it needs to be our way. MLS Next, or DA, crazy, or man. Towards the end of the DA was close to coming out and saying no outside training. You train with your club 4 days a week. You have 2 games on the weekend, and you have 1 day off. Nothing on the day off. And it's like,
that is crazy. You know why that's crazy, though? You know why that's crazy? It's because the 2 top programs I can think of, whether it be Flash, who I love those guys, I got nothing against them, or RNY, who I love those guys, I got nothing against them, is that those guys that I'm talking about, those coaches, are coaching 3 teams at times. So they don't have 20 players, they have 60 players. If you're a parent, do you trust that coach that has 60 players underneath them to be the only source of development for your kid? Or do you appreciate that coach and know that that coach is knowledgeable, but also want supplemental training via the high school route, via the PlayMaker route, via the sports performance route, and things of that nature? That's the decision you have to make. And I don't see why these clubs would want it any other way than to have help around them, you know?
That's it. We're just trying to help.
We're trying to help.
We're just trying to, you would be a great service to the players that you work with.
Yeah.
That go back to their clubs a better player.
Yeah.
Because we all know that there are some high school coaches or some programs that they go to and they come back and it's worse.
Right.
And it's worse.
Right.
And I think that's why so many clubs are anti-high school soccer.
Yeah.
Like, well, they get so many bad habits. They only get the bad habits when they have a coach that doesn't really ring in some of those bad habits.
Yeah.
But I think high school coaching is way better than it was 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago for sure.
Yeah.
So you can't attack it. You can't attack high school soccer like we could have when the DA started in 2007. It's a completely different. Now, obviously, people around the country are gonna think that we're idiots because they're in the middle of West Virginia and they're like, well, this guy's never played soccer and he's the high school coach, but he's also the art teacher.
Right.
Yes, we understand that goes on.
Yeah.
But for the
100%.
But I mean, I don't know. Do you think it's better? Do you think soccer is better than it was when you started coaching?
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I think it's also different in a way. I think the players' soccer IQ is a lot stronger. I do think they are understanding the game a little bit better. I think they understand how to break a press, let's say, and how to attack a back line with a flat back four versus three in the back. How to pull that three and pull them wide, and how
create
to
numbers up,
and generally speaking, not every player, of course, right? There are players that are certainly behind, in that regard, because there's 22 players on a high school roster, and it's all different backgrounds in terms of soccer development and coaching and family as well. Does the family have background in soccer? What kind of education do they come from? But I would say that overall, generally, the level is better. But again, by no means we're the cream of the crop. We are developing the person just as much the player at the high school level. That's what educational athletics is all about. Quite frankly, that's what we're trained to do, right? If we can develop boys into young men that can be successful in college, not on the field, but off the field, be successful with their families, get a good job, have habits through high school that can prepare them for professional, obligations after high school and college, then we've done our job, right? So success is important, but a byproduct of that success is doing things the right way, building that culture, building those winning habits, and from there they can take that on and utilize it for those next stages and chapters of their life.
Back when you first started at Hamburg, was there and I get messages about this all the time within high school soccer, is that back in the day, you had to be a staff member to be able to coach high school athletics. When did that go away in Western New York?
To my knowledge, that
Never
even when
been.
I was playing, we had 20. Sadly enough, those I knew high school coaches when I was a high school student that weren't teachers.
Okay.
That so I would say at least for the last 20 years that hasn't been a thing. But
Good, because I guess there's still some states and some organizations or whatever state organizations that say you have to be a teacher or some. Yeah. Maybe that's an individual school district thing.
Yeah,
I mean
we have to have a coaching educational background through a program called BOCES. And so there's courses that you have to take once to get certified as a trained coach via the districts. So you have to there is a lot of red tape behind getting your certifications done and things of that nature, but you don't have to be a teacher at the school. As a matter of fact, a lot of varsity coaches coach for a certain school, but they teach at a different school, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So
Or school
So they're really not
district.
even a part of the district. So
Right.
they have no, that would be a slippery slope because there's not enough qualified coaches. And at the end of the day, it'd just be a disservice to our kids. Right. I always say, if you guys can find someone better than me, go find I'll go to the beat. I could be on the beat. I told my player, I told Milos, or I told one of my players this recently. I said, hey, I'll be. If you can find some, and this was just because he's the face of our program going forward, and I want to be committed to him for the next 3 years. He's a sophomore now, but I said we also you guys got to show me that we got something going, and we're really committed to building this thing the right way. And, you and I could be at the beach right now. We could be. Instead, we're in Clarence.
It is 75 degrees out.
No, I'm talking about the beach. I'm talking about Miami.
Yeah, I know.
So I guess what my point is though, if they can find someone better than me, then I got.
And that's so frustrating to me too, because I just got a comment. I posted a couple of weeks ago. I posted Ryan D'Annunzio defending high school soccer. Yeah. And
great clip, by the way.
And then somebody from who knows where, they're like, yeah, if we could get an MLS Next coach to coach high school, maybe I'd play. And I'm like,
oh my God.
First of all, how old are you? Second of all, where are you?
Right.
3, there's not any MLS Next coaches coaching high school because they're not MLS Next doesn't promote high school. Why would an MLS Next coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think there's so many different levels, so many different ways to play. At the end of the day, it's about the kids, right? And about taking care of them and doing things the right way for them and their families. And that's my job. And whatever the parents, if the parents think they can go somewhere else and find a better avenue, then that's their prerogative. I take it personally at times. I think I pour everything I have into our players and our kids, and I feel like we do have a good culture, and we do have something good. So when a kid leaves, it hurts, because I feel like I was making a good impact, and I feel like they can help me and we can help them, and it's tough. So,
right.
But at the end of the day, time tells. With Dan, for example, Dan, I still love. Him and I still. Yeah. We have a good relationship, and obviously his brother was fantastic for us. But that was tough. That was tough.
I mean, it took me a while. When I was a young coach, I was probably 23, 24. I would train this team 4 days a week, and it was like a U11 boys team. 4 of my top players all went to the DA club, and it was my fault because I was also the goalkeeper trainer of that DA club. And I was like, man, you need to come out and watch the DA. It's just a different level. You got to come and watch these kids, blah, 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 blah. And then about 2 years later, they're like, yeah, we're going to go to the DA. And I'm like, no, but wait. And then I took it so personally.
Yeah.
But then I realized, I don't know, probably 3 years later, I probably realized it's like, you know what? They're just trying to do the best thing for their kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of them, for some of those players, it worked out.
Yeah.
For most of those players, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I never want to say I told you so, or that's what they get. It's no. It's like,
no, because at the end of the day, you love
I wish
the
I would have
kids.
saw that.
You love the kids. You love serving the kids. It's what it's all about. And you feel like you could have made a bigger impact for longer, and it kind of was taken from you, So.
Again,
at the end of the day, there's only so many kids though you can serve. So if you're not going to take care of this one because you're not allowed to, or you can't anymore because they were pulled from you, you're going to take care of somebody else.
Exactly.
And you're going to bring somebody else into the group, and you're going to, So, at the end of the day, no hard feelings there.
Again, thank you. I mean, So my original plan was I was going to go out to the high schools and set it up kind of like NFL preseason and stuff. And I'm like. And then Trevor, I was gonna have Trevor on. Trevor couldn't do it, or the day that I wanted to go out there, and I don't know. Their AD was pushing back, so I'm just gonna have Trevor. I'm just gonna have Trevor come in here eventually.
Okay.
And then a couple of guys in Michigan, actually an ECNL coach that also coaches high school, wants to go on and put some clubs on blast in Michigan for attacking high school soccer. And so I'm kind of like really kind of like want to do like a high school tour. And the guy at Frontier, I might do some too. But dude, I loved having you.
I appreciate it.
Great conversation.
Yeah.
And man,
it went longer than I thought, but
I'm sorry.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, but thanks, man.
And sometimes I just kind of went off to.
Who cares?
Okay. Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's what I want. It's a normal conversation.
Right.
It's not like, what's your favorite color?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Just organic, natural.
When did you fall in love with the game?
Yeah.
Right. Who's your favorite men's national team player? Right. It's like, fuck. Like, that will never be me.
No.
But thanks, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate
it.
Dude,
it's a lot.
Awesome.
I hate soccer.